Hello, everyone. It is time to start the stream. You know what? I'll start from the beginning. Alright. Hello. Welcome. Let me open up the novel real quick. I don't have everything ready. Ooh, someone just subscribed. Thank you. Fuck yeah. Here, I'll give you all the link to the song in case anyone asks. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Open. There you go. Alright. There you go. Alright. So, we have Is the stream going well for you guys? That's weird. It says YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. I don't even know anymore. Really fucking weird. Alright. Oh boy. Oh boy. Show up. Oh my gosh, I have to enlarge it. There you go. Can't watch, need sleep. Fair. Go to sleep. If this is an inconvenient time for y'all, go to sleep. Unless it's early, then I guess not. So. Alright. I think it's about time we start. There we go. Alright. I'm just gonna jump right into it, you know. I really like these live readings. I treat it as my 5th read through of Mushoku Tensei. Well, apparently I skipped a chapter last stream. I didn't even realize it. Probably because I was drunk. Not drunk, but slightly intoxicated. I wouldn't say I've ever been drunk. So I was kind of playing into the alcohol last stream. I was kind of acting into it, you know. It wasn't like I was at. It may have seemed like I was really like messed up by 2 beers, but trust, I'm not like that. Just trust me on this. Unfortunately, I'm probably gonna have to simp for Aisha after this stream. So I'm gonna say it now to all you who doubt, to all of those doubters. I am a Sylphie fan through and through, no matter what I say after this stream. I'm a Sylphie fan. Don't forget it. No matter what happens in the next month, I promise you, I am a Sylphie fan. Trust. That is really how alcohol works. Don't lie to us. Ugh, fucking hell. Take it for what you will. Take it for what you will. Maybe I was messed up. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. I've only been drinking for a month. I literally just turned 21, so like literally I streamed my first beer. So did he catch up that chapter? No. Apparently it was chapter 222. I skipped half of it, so I don't know. I'm not gonna go back because, well, we're at a pretty cool part right now. So yeah, I don't care. I'm looking forward to the next Sylphie section. Not gonna happen in this stream. Had a talk with Pope. Before you continue, let's just fucking go. The one,
Chapter 225.
that one he sus.
What am I wavering over? Part 1. When seeing Zenith and Claire, I don't think I let my trembling show. Point 1. I wasn't sure I could win. I wasn't confident everything would go well. However, I believe that I can at least do something at this moment. I finished simulating escaping with Zenith in an instant. I can't use the teleport
Americans' age
circle with
laws.
as many people around.
I
However,
know,
I've already grasped the
18.
capabilities of the Temple Knights here.
18. You
sure how
guys
strong
can
the
drink
Temple
at
Knights behind the
18.
Pope are,
I
but
can
if I
only
believe the
drink at
Miko's words,
21.
there is no way they surpass the members of Anastasia Key.
Fuck you.
I am certain I can retrieve Zenith. Now that the situation has become like this, I've
Tell me
essentially
if the
completed one of my
audio's
goals.
too
I can rescue
loud
Zenith.
for
I can also
the
protect Cliff.
stream.
I can even secure Aisha and Jisoo. I'll just escape like that. I'm a little worried about Aisha and Jisoo, but I can get information on them in this conversation. Anyways, while thinking about it, I boldly take my seat.
That is true.
I escorted the Miko to the neighboring seat, and forced her into the seat while holding her arm. Before seating myself, I spoke out in
You
a very
see a
calm
lot
voice.
of underage
You've really
people who
saved me a
have
lot of
guns
trouble by
too.
gathering here.
So
It slid right off
body
my tongue.
armor, in fact,
I haven't had that sort of feeling
with
in a long time.
AKs.
Since there are many here who I am meeting for the first time, I would like to start with some
Whatever. I'm not going to dwell
I am
into
Rudius
that
Frere,
shit.
representative of Dragon God Orsted-sama, and have given up on forming a friendship with the Church of Meles. At the mention of the Dragon God, the surrounding people were slightly bewildered for a moment. Nobody here has met Orsted in person. Naturally, none of them know Orsted's goals or what he is fighting against. Possibly, there may be some who have never heard of the 7 major world powers. However, there are none who are unfamiliar with the term Dragon God. That is a title that is just as well known as Demon God. Presently, for certain reasons I have taken the Miko-sama's life into my hands. I pointed at the Miko with the index finger of my right hand. Tension filled the surroundings as I gathered mana and created a small flame like a lighter. It is extremely regretful that the situation has come to this. I didn't think that I would have to take a prisoner and sully the name of the overwhelming super being Orsted. However, this is for my own protection, and the safety of those under me, and a necessary measure for the following negotiations, so I hope you understand. Overwhelming, super. Ahem. I made a slip of the tongue. I didn't intend to joke around. Now then, as for why I had to aim for the Miko's life and disgrace my master. I looked around my surroundings. Suddenly, my gaze stopped on Claire. She wrinkled up her eyebrows. I would be grateful if someone gave me a proper explanation. Otherwise, the Dragon God Orsted and his subordinates, including me, will truly become the enemies of the Church of Meles. It's not a threat. It's in the case that the top brass of the Church of Meles are being manipulated by Hitagame. I need to take that case into consideration. At my words, the conference became deadly silent. Nobody returned my words. None of them told me to bring it on. I wonder if it was because of the battle earlier. Or maybe I said something strange. I'm sure I took on a pose that showed that I am angry. I can understand Rudia-sama's fury. The one who answered is the one who is sitting directly across from me. The man who is sitting the furthest from the door. With Cliff by his side, the most important man present. The Pope, Harry Grimoire. However, as Rudia-sama said earlier, there are many here who he has never met. I would like to go through introductions one by one. Is that alright with you? It won't take much time. I think about his intentions. Is he stalling for time? Are they currently moving to secure Aisha? No, there aren't that many people here. It won't be bad to know the others in the room with me. To make demands, the proper sequence must be followed. In order to be heard, preparations must be taken. Simply shouting whatever I want at them has no meaning if the other party isn't prepared to listen. I don't mind. I was getting too impatient. Thank you. Cliff, if
Ask
you would.
him the fucking
Yes.
question.
Everyone, I am Cliff Grimoire, grandson of Pope Harry Grimoire. Cliff stood up and said that.
Ask him
then
the
took a step
fucking
backwards.
question.
It seems
Do
he is in
you or
charge of
do you not
progressing
know
discussions.
of a man
Then,
named
if Cardinal
Hitogami?
LeBlanc would please start. At Cliff's words,
Fucking
one person
hell.
stood up. A man wearing vestments that looked just as expensive as the Pope's. If I were to describe his face in one word, it would be fat. A perfectly circular face, like a certain hero with N-Pan for a head point.
You literally have the
However,
Miko.
this man is in charge of the demon race expulsion
Bruh.
faction. I am Cardinal LeBlanc McFarlane. I manage the order of the temple and assist His Eminence the Pope. So this man is number 2-3 of the Church of Meles. If I'm not mistaken, his job is to assist the Pope. So it's kind of like a king and his prime minister. Of course, the Pope and Cardinal seem a little different from the religious organizations I'm familiar with, so it may be something else. But this Pope and Cardinal are certainly fighting. They're aiming to be the next Pope. Although I don't know if they do anything like an election every few years or something. While I was thinking that, the Cardinal immediately returned to his seat. So by introductions, they're just giving their names and positions. Sir Belmondo. At Cliff's call, the man in white armor sitting next to
I
LeBlanc stood up.
assist the
A
Pope.
one-eyed man with scars on his face. He
Okay.
looks around 40 years old. Since he's wearing white armor, he's probably in the Order of the Church. But his facial expression can only be described as grim. If I remember correctly, the Order of the Church are the chief knights protecting the country. He's probably angry at me for causing a disturbance in town. Lieutenant Commander of the Arrow Group of the Order of the Church, Belmondo Nashvanik. The man said that and sat down. I get the feeling I've heard that somewhere before. He's glaring fixedly at me. However, he's not saying anything else. That's probably his natural look. Like Orsted or Rudyard. Ah, I remember now. If I remember right, the knight that Rudyard knew had that kind of name. That's right, Galgard. Galgard Nashvanik. Quash for short. Are you perhaps related to Galgard-san? I'm his son. A while back, I was in the care of your father. I see. Even though the father is in the order of instruction, the son doesn't always enter the same order. Nonetheless, it's not like he's an incompetent son, his position of lieutenant commander is proof of that. Sir Railbard IV. After that was another knight in white armor. It was an unfamiliar name, but he named himself as a battalion commander of the Arrow Group. This something group is like a regiment of the army. A battalion commander is basically the next most important post after commander, lieutenant commander, and regimental commander. Sir Carlyle. Please forgive me for my rudeness earlier, I didn't intend to ignore you. 5. Carlyle Latria excused himself from an introduction. I wasn't sure if that was alright, but now that I think about it, the Pope and Cliff didn't introduce themselves either. If that's the case, I wonder if Claire will go without an introduction as well. As I thought that, the introductions continued. The Archbishop and the regimental commander. For the time being, I'll remember their names. I'm not sure whether or not there's a need to remember them, but there's no harm in knowing their names.
Ayo.
However, if possible I would like to have exchanged business cards. Claire Dono. Claire's name was called. I wonder why she's among these dignitaries.
What's good?
She may have been called as a suspect. Or maybe she was the one who spread the rumor of me planning to kidnap the Maiko. Why did she bring Zenith? There are many things I want to know right away, but I get the feeling that an explanation is coming. I'll be patient for now. Countess of the Latria house, Claire Latria. This is my daughter Zenith. She's in this state because of an illness, so I beg your pardon. Claire said that with a prim face and took her seat. For now, this is everyone. The knights acting as guards didn't introduce themselves, but I guess this means they have no right to participate in the discussion. Well then, let us begin. Taking turns with Rudia-sama, let's describe what has happened. At the Pope's words, the conference started. Part 2. Well then, Rudia-sama, first I would like to make the context clear, is that fine? I don't mind. I also want to know what has happened. Since the Pope worded it like that, they probably only became aware of the circumstances a moment ago. It's been a few hours since the disturbance. To gather up the Cardinal and the top members of each Knight Order, the circumstance seems a little too good. However, although I say top, the leaders of the orders are not present. The people gathered here are probably all the members that could quickly come after the Maiko's kidnapping. Nevertheless, for the related order of the temple to not be present feels odd. Well then, where should we start? At any rate, I've also only just heard the circumstances. I still haven't been able to put it all in order. After the Pope said that while scratching his brow, one man raised his hand. Belmondo. It's Bishsan. 6. We're probably the ones with the least information. We simply came here following the Cardinal's summons. In order to collect the corpse of the person who killed the Maiko and caused damage to the country. Damage the country. That is to say, a Maiko is one of a country's most important possessions, as can be seen from Zanaba's case. Even if she is managed and appropriated by the Church of Miles, she's an existence that would trouble the country if she were to go missing. At the very least, she's important enough that they couldn't disregard the summons. However, upon coming here we learned that the guards were merely knocked out and the Maiko kidnapped. On top of that, the kidnapper returned to the scene of the crime while infuriated, and claimed that he was in the right. Saying that, Bish scowled at the Cardinal. The summons we received do not match the current situation. As such, we will be adopting a stance of neutrality. Bish said that and returned to his seat. While smiling, the Pope directed his vision to the Cardinal. Cardinal Dono, please detail your reasons for sending such a summons. Not to me, but to Rudia-sama. The Cardinal stood up expressionlessly. From that conversation, it seems the attack was the Cardinal's doing. I received a notice from a member of the Latria household. That there was someone who made dangerous proclamations about kidnapping the Maiko while on the roadside. Someone from the Latria house, on the roadside. Ah, it could be that I was followed while on my way back from my second visit to Claire's house. I didn't notice at all, but I was causing such an uproar when I left. They may have sent someone to make sure I didn't do anything. Even if that's not the case, I had that conversation on the roadside. It wouldn't be strange for someone to overhear it. It wouldn't be unlikely for that to have reached the ears of the Latria house. The walls have ears, honest Mary. 7. There are traitorous Marys everywhere. When we investigated who made that remark, we came across Rudius Dano. My subordinates discovered that Rudius Dano was using his relationship with Therese to skillfully draw close to the Maiko-sama. According to the Cardinal, it would usually be fine to ignore that kind of remark. That type of prank is an everyday occurrence. The Order of the Temple doesn't have enough spare time to mobilize based on every insult that is spoken on the streets. However, he has a close relationships with demons, and is close friends with the grandson of His Eminence the Pope, who pushes for the acceptance of the demon race. In addition, he separated from the Latria house over some issue. Furthermore, shortly after quarreling with the Latria house, Rudius quickly approached the Miko. And to top it off, Rudius has more than enough power to kidnap the Miko behind the backs of her guards, and murder her. Both motive and ability were present. Thus, I forestalled him. I see. However, that differs from the testimony of the Order of the Church. There's a large difference between kidnapping and murder. Most likely, the people we sent to contact them exaggerated a bit. The Cardinal spoke nonchalantly. However, looking at the situation, his intentions are obvious. He wanted to frame me as having attempted to murder the Miko, and make it seem as if the Pope was manipulating things in the background. However, I'm sorry to say that your treasured Temple Knights were defeated. Let alone the Miko, it was plainly shown that I didn't even intend to kill the Temple Knights. Now then, as for the Latria house. Before we hear Sir Carlyle's story, let's hear from Rudia-sama. Is that alright with you? For a moment, I considered rejecting that. However, thinking it over carefully, there is no need for me to lie. There's nothing for me to feel guilty for. Certainly, I did propose kidnapping the Miko, but that was purely because of the blood rushing to my head. I didn't mention it again after that, and didn't put it into practice. Then why did you draw close to the Miko? In order to resolve the issue with the Latria house, I was consulting with my Aunt Therese. I suppose that looked like drawing close to the Miko. I see. However, if that is the case, then why did you actually kidnap the Miko? The contents of his speech sounded like a cross-examination, but the Pope's voice is just as kind as usual. As if to say that everything will be fine if I reply honestly. I said it earlier, but it was only to ensure my own safety and protect the people important to me. Naturally, I got Miko-sama's permission as well. Is that true? Yes. When I looked into his eyes, I could see that Rudia-sama has done nothing to feel guilty over. The Miko said that and scanned the surroundings, and the Pope and Cardinal casually averted their eyes. It must be difficult for people who have done nothing but things to feel guilty for. However, if that's the case, why annihilate the guards? Couldn't you have persuaded them with words? I was suddenly trapped in a barrier, given a farce of a trial that I had no right to speak in, and was told both arms would be cut off. There was no reason not to resist. However, looking back, there certainly wasn't any need to completely annihilate them. It would have been smarter to leave only Therese standing and smoothly persuade her. The Miko was just about to come out, after all. When she saw that I didn't act even with the Miko in front of me, surely even Therese would. Nope, impossible. I had no way of knowing that the Miko was about to come out, and if I remember the atmosphere back then, I don't get the feeling that it would have been possible to persuade them by talking it over. It was a trial with a predetermined result. In my previous world as well, I've been bullied that way before. I see. Then. The Pope slowly spoke, cutting to the heart of the matter. In the first place, what kind of issue was it that you had with the Latria house? Claire's body shook with a start. Seeing that, the gloomy feelings within me resurfaced. Claire's egotistical speech and conduct from that time were revived in my mind. I can endure anything being done to me. However, those words about Aisha. Those words about Zenith. That cruelty towards Jisoo. That countess, abducted my mother, who is standing over there, and confined her in a place beyond my sight. As I spoke, my irritation gradually rose. She tried to force my mother, who couldn't even speak, to marry some unknown man against her will, and make her bear his children. My voice is getting rougher. When I opposed that, she used cowardly methods to kidnap her, and pretended to know nothing when I questioned her. Those around us shuddered in fear. Therese and the other Temple Knights wore grim faces and had their hands on their swords. The Miko was grimacing slightly. It seems I was grasping her too tightly. Well, that's how it was. My words suspiciously cut off, and my story was left unfinished. However, my fury seems to have been passed on to the listeners. Their gazes closed in on the Latria house from all directions. They glared at Carlyle and Claire, and sent pitying eyes towards Zenith, who was blankly staring at the ceiling. Then, Sir Carlyle, Madame Claire. From those words, the fall for this case seems to lie with you. Let us hear your views. Carlyle and Claire exchanged glances for a moment. I wonder what they're planning. At the very least, there's no sign of the Cardinal intending to help them. My wife did that of her own accord, I had no knowledge of it. Carlyle said that with an unruffled expression. He's casting her away. This man is casting away his own wife. No, if Claire normally acts that way and Carlyle's irritation grew day by day, isn't it natural to cast her aside in this situation? If it was me, no matter how many problems Eris causes with her violence, I wouldn't cast her aside or abandon her. I can't say with confidence that after a long married life I won't come to dislike the parts of her that are disagreeable. However, I would definitely never cast her aside or abandon her. This bothers me a bit. I remember something Cliff said long ago. In Mealy's, when a woman gets married, her family gives the groom a betrothal gift, but in exchange, he will definitely provide aid should something ever happen to the bride's household. Of course, what is meant by household isn't clear, but is Carlyle seriously considering forsaking Claire? Of course, I fully intend to take responsibility as the head of the family, but I would like to make known that this matter was not done with the full consensus of the Latria house. I wonder if adding that on is part of his sense of responsibility. I see. Then Madame Claire, how about you? Claire doesn't answer. She simply presses her lips together in a straight line and remains silent, like a pouting child. I will take your silence to be a confirmation. The Pope said that and looked over the listeners. Then, before anyone could say anything, he raised his voice again. Then, the perpetrator of this incident was Madame Claire. Sir Carlyle will share responsibility. I would like to end this with Madame Claire receiving punishment and Sir Carlyle taking responsibility. Are there any objections? I get the feeling that something is being distorted. That the topic was being manipulated. That the conclusion was decided from the start, and the conversation smoothly flowed towards that. No objections. The cardinal responded faster than anyone else. No objections. No objections. When everyone was nodding in agreement with the cardinal's words, Claire's face became blue, but it didn't lose its primness. I wonder if she's not going to say anything. An excuse, or something. Well, I'd get in a bad mood if she gave some poor excuse, so it's fine. As for me, as long as Zenith is returned, it's fine. I'll never approach the Latria house again. I won't let Zenith, Norn, or Aisha approach it ever again. That's the end of that. Is that okay with you, Rudia-sama? This incident was caused against our intents. We had no intention of harming Rudia-sama, or making enemies of Orsted-sama, and would like to maintain an amicable relationship. I looked at the Pope. His smiling face hasn't changed. I looked at the Cardinal. When our gazes met, he let out a squeak and started pouring sweat. Oh dash, of course we don't desire conflict with Orsted-sama either. No matter how Orsted-sama knows of Laplace's coming return, we have no intentions on sparing our cooperation in defeating him. We would like to put off the matter of the sale of demon race figures until a later conference, though. After that exchange, I somehow grasped the flow of the situation. In this case, the mastermind was the Pope. Most likely, the ones who leaked the matter of the Maiko's kidnapping was the Pope's underlings. Using the Latria house's name, he manipulated the Cardinal's faction into suspecting me of attempting to murder the Maiko. Or possibly there are spies from the Pope's faction in the Latria house, and used the fact that I was in fact heard by their servants. It doesn't matter either way. He couldn't be sure whether the Cardinal would move or not. However, from the Cardinal's viewpoint, I must have been a troublesome existence. I'm friends with the Pope's grandson Cliff, and am the subordinate of the Dragon God. It must have looked that I had an issue with the Latria house, and the Pope used that as a pretext to send me as an assassin and draw close to the Maiko. It's no wonder he thought that he had to get rid of me. That he didn't mobilize the entire order of the temple was either because he was underestimating me, or that he predicted things would turn out this way. The Pope knew I wasn't going to kill the Maiko. Either that, or he didn't mind even if I did. Naturally, even if I couldn't win against the order of the temple and was killed, there would be no demerit for him. I may be Cliff's friend, but I'm not part of the Pope's faction. The Pope didn't have to dirty his hands, or agree with the kidnapping. He had confidence that even if he were questioned by the Maiko and his plan were discovered, in the worst case he could use Cliff as a scapegoat. Furthermore, if Orsted came, he could proclaim that I fell for the trap of the demon race expulsion faction. He must have been thinking that if it came to that, he could establish a cooperative relationship with Orsted on his own. And then, this situation. The conclusion that he can punish the Latria house. I'm sure that both the Pope and the Cardinal thought that it didn't matter who was sacrificed. The decision to make an example out of Claire was surely because of the fury I held towards her.
Gosh dang,
If
the
I can get
Pope
revenge on Claire, then I'm
sus.
satisfied.
Gosh
The Pope is
dang.
overjoyed that he can damage the Cardinal's faction, Latria house. Only the Cardinal's faction is upset. I get the feeling that I was dancing on the palm of his hand, but... well, that's fine. I can get Zenith back. I can get revenge on Claire. And following this flow, it seems I'll be able to establish a mercenary corps as planned. I don't mind. Then according to convention, Claire Latria will be sentenced to 10 years in prison for the crime of treason. Phew. I let out a strange sound. Do you have any objections, Rudius Dano? 10 years. Of course. She abducted the family of Rudius Dano, who is a close associate of the Dragon God Sama, and incited the attack on the Maiko. But, that's... not dealing properly with people that possess power invites this kind of disturbance. If Rudius Dano wasn't someone with such good sense, the Maiko Sama would have lost her life long ago. Thinking of it that way, 10 years is still too short. Is that the case? But that's right. It became such a situation that this many people needed to be gathered. I'm sure there are other people who will be receiving punishment, but Claire gets 10 years of imprisonment. 10 years. It's by no means short. 10 years ago I had just separated from Eris. So, it's not short at all. Be that as it may, there's no helping it. In the first place, Claire's methods were dirty. If she hadn't kidnapped Zenith like that, it wouldn't have turned into this. Since you seem to have no objections, by this informal trial with the presence of at least 3 bishops and at least 3 battalion commanders, Countess Claire Latria is hereby sentenced to 10 years in prison for the crime of treason. Sir Carlyle's sentence will be decided later in a formal trial.
Ask him the fucking
No
question.
objections. The Cardinal, Archbishop, and
You
Knight
have the
solemnly declared
Miko
such.
there to
Then,
fucking
Belmont
prove
Gaetano,
his...
please have the Latria couple restrained by the neutral order of the church.
Just tell if
The other involved
the
parties will be judged
Pope's
later with due
lying
form.
or not. Just
The Pope
ask him if
exchanged
he
looks
knows
with
who
the order
to...
of the
I
church,
mean, holy
and raised
shit.
his hands. Bish and the other two immediately stood, and briskly circled the table to where Claire and Carlyle were seated. When they passed in front of Therese, she furrowed her brow for a moment. One of the order of the church produced something similar to Monocles from his breast pocket, and shackled Carlyle. Carlyle silently complied, and followed the church knight to the exit. Claire didn't move. As she stood up, her whole body was shaking. Her facial expression was unchanged, but she was trembling from head to toe. Now then, Madame Claire. I am. The order of the church were slowly approaching Claire. Claire will be arrested, and put in jail. It has a bad aftertaste to it, but I guess with this the case is closed. Suddenly, I met eyes with Cliff. He was looking at me with a flustered, bewildered expression. Why are you making that kind of face? Certainly, even I find it a little hard to stomach. With this kind of vigilante justice, she's sentenced to 10 years. I think it's too overbearing. However, isn't this your society's rule? I received a similar treatment from the Order of the Temple. In that case, isn't this due process according to your people's rules? Now then, Madame Claire. So as not to incite Claire, Belmondo slowly reached out. While fearfully looking at those hands, Claire tried to escape. HN. The next instant, Belmondo was pushed away. While his heavy armor vibrated with a clang he stumbled a step backwards. Belmont immediately lowered his stance, and prepared to draw his sword. The one who resisted, wasn't Claire. It was the woman who sat between Claire and Carlyle. Zenith was standing before Claire. She spread her arms as if to block the way. She was looking at Belmont with a blank face, yet hostility could clearly be felt from her actions. She protected Claire. I was even more confused. Why was Zenith protecting Claire? Was it a spontaneous action? However, up until now she had moved on her own in certain circumstances. Whenever she moved like this, she was acting for her family. Did she have no idea what was going on, and reflexively protected her mother? I have the feeling I'm missing something. At times like these, I was always mistaken. If I calm down, and think things over carefully, I may discover what I was overlooking. However, there's no time. Belmont will momentarily push aside Zenith, and take Claire away. Should I stay out of it? Is it okay to stop him without thinking of the consequences? Wouldn't it be better if I asked questions first? But, Claire, to Zenith. Please wait. While looking back at the perplexed me, someone raised a voice to stop Belmont. A person of small stature interposed himself in front of Zenith. Someone who was looking at me with eyes of criticism until just now. It was Cliff. These overbearing methods aren't right. He stood in front of Belmont to cover Zenith. Forcing an old woman against the wall and making her into a sacrifice like this will not be forgiven by Mili-sama. A mere priest dares to object to an official church decision and proclaim himself as a spokesman for Mili-sama. The cardinal speaks up in a loud voice. Then, do you think Mili-sama will forgive such actions, Cardinal? When the husband has abandoned his wife and only the child is standing to protect her mother, ganging up on the mother to take her into custody. You say child, but she is merely an adult who has lost her mind. Age has nothing to do with it. The cardinal made an indignant face to Cliff, who was expressing flat refusal. He immediately turned to face his subordinates, the temple knights. A face as if to say to shut this man up. However, the one he was looking towards was Therese. Cliff as well looked at Therese. Middle leader of the shield group of the Order of the Temple, Therese Latria. She is your mother as well. Is this okay? Mili-sama said a knight must never forget his loyalty. However, there are times in which the ones whom one loves must take precedence. To you, is your mother someone not deserving of your love? Did you feel no love for her as she raised you into who you are today? Even if you haven't, do you feel no debt to her when you think back on your past? Therese made an agonizing face and turned away. While maintaining his infuriated expression, Cliff moved his line of sight. His eyes stopped on me. You too, Rudius. Just as usual, he pierced me with a completely unwavering gaze. Doing things like this, are you satisfied? Doing something unlike yourself, like taking the Maiko hostage and trapping your own grandmother, throwing her into jail, are you satisfied with that? Hearing that, I fell silent. Cliff's way of speaking is strange. I didn't intend to take the Maiko hostage. The one who sentenced Claire to prison wasn't me. In the first place, it's undeniable that Claire was in the wrong. Isn't it natural to be punished? It's not something that should be overturned with those emotional words. Certainly you may have been quarreling with her, but don't you always reach a solution considerate of the other's feelings when disputing with your family? I heard it from Nornkun. Even though she was so cruel to you, you came to help her when she was down, without letting the past get between you. This time as well, you put in so much effort to conclude things peacefully. You consulted with grandfather and Sir Therese, and were about to reach a peaceful solution. Is it really okay like this? It looks like he's misunderstanding something. Trying to find a peaceable solution was for the sake of the mercenary corps and Cliff. It wasn't out of consideration for her as part of my family. But Cliff probably doesn't want to hear that kind of fault-finding. Answer me. Rudius Grere. Is this okay with you or not? Depending on your answer, you may receive my scorn. For some reason that resounds in my heart. Something that pierces through me. Why is that? Certainly, I don't think it's good for my family to be imprisoned. But, Claire is different. She never tried to see me as part of her family. She is different. She isn't family. However, there's still something bothering me. I don't know what it is. However, if I don't take care of it, I can't answer. Cliff Senpai. Before I answer that, can I ask Claire-san a question? Without waiting for Cliff's reply, I turned to face Claire. With an attitude that was mixed with fear, but full of resolution, she caught my gaze. Why, did you kidnap my mother? Claire didn't change her expression. She simply answered as a matter of course. For the sake of my daughter, and the house. Do you really think that forcing your daughter who is in this state to marry is for her own sake? Depending on the time and circumstances. Without realizing it, I was clenching my hands into fists. I was putting power into my hands, and grinding my teeth. Why is this person like this? Even though if she said that she wasn't thinking, that she was mistaken, she may be able to escape this situation. The others looked to me as if waiting for my decision. As if I'm the one who has the right to decide. No, I have it, don't I? I'm still holding the Maiko's arm. The playing field was never level from the beginning. Which is more important to you, your daughter or your house? They are both just as important. My irritation rose at her non-committal answer. Why doesn't she try to persuade me? She should understand that I have the advantage in this situation. If she says she wants my forgiveness, I'd stand down. No, I won't completely stand down, but she won't be stuck in prison for 10 years. No one died, so I would be satisfied with a lesser sentence. That's why. Just do it. Stop fooling around. Just apologize. At my hesitation, Claire snorted roughly. You don't need to force yourself. I don't expect to receive your help. If doing something for my daughter is deserving of punishment, then I shall accept it gratefully. 9. You, WH-. Ah. Shit, I don't give a damn anymore. Zenith covered for her, Cliff covered for her. After that, that is what you say. I can't forgive you anymore. If that's what you're going to say, I won't. As I started to say that, I felt a prod on my shoulder. When I looked over, the Maiko placed the hand of the arm I wasn't grasping on my shoulder. Rudia-sama. What is it? The Maiko wasn't wearing her usual naive face, but was expressionless. She was expressionless, but I could see something behind that expression. She was giving off the atmosphere of a saint. Please help her. Why? I won't be deceived by the atmosphere. I no longer have any intention of forgiving Claire. At least, she never had any intention of reconciling with me. She's just a worthless mother who tried to take control of her daughter. She probably couldn't stand the grandson who tried to get in the way of that. When things didn't go her way, she threw a tantrum like a spoiled child. Claire-sama is truly only thinking of her daughter and her house. If it's just thinking, anyone can do it. There's no point unless you consider the standpoint of the other person. Even if you have good intentions, you have no business forcing someone against their wishes. Furthermore, this time you were forcing things in an undeniably wrong direction. Nobody would wish for that. Rudia-sama, you are included in the house she was thinking about. What do you mean by that? She was also thinking about you while doing this. About me. If that's the case, then why did this happen? How did it turn out like this? I don't get it. Someone explain this to me. Please believe me. I understand from looking into her eyes. Right. Her power as a Maiko. By looking into someone's eyes, she can see their memories. In other words, Claire had a reason for doing this. I don't know what that reason could possibly be, though. Claire-san, about Maiko-sama's words, could you please explain? I don't understand your reasons. There's nothing to explain, I have no idea what she's talking about. I'm sure even Maiko-sama tells lies. I've never given someone like you any thought at all. A standoffish attitude. That's it? Cliff, Maiko-sama. No matter how much you try to cover for her, even I can't give in to that. Certainly, there are a few things I'm reluctant about. However, let's just put an end to this. I have no intention of reconciling with someone who never tried to get along with me from the very beginning. As I said that with a sigh, Claire once again nodded with a prim face. Cliff looked at me with a painful face, and the Maiko put on a sorrowful expression. Therese gave Claire a glance, Belmondo began to move, Zenith. Before I realized it, Zenith was standing in front of me. She slapped me on the cheek. There was no power in it. A weak strike that left no marks. However, for some reason it hurt. It feels like the place I was struck is heating up. Tears suddenly started gushing out. Before I could understand why, Zenith had passed by my side. When I turned around, there was the handcuffed Carlyle, who was watching over the course of events before leaving the room. Since he was behind me, I never saw his facial expression until now. However, on his face was a complicated expression mixing worry, impatience, and regret. He was also struck. As expected, a powerless open-handed slap. Zenith walked with an unsteady and unreliable gait. Nobody stopped her. Not the church knights, not the temple knights, nobody. Zenith walked the room in which time had stopped. Finally, she stood in front of Claire. She slowly raised her hand, and with an open hand. No, it wasn't a slap. She was touching Claire's cheeks with both hands.
Before I start
As if trying to look through it, she stared at Claire's face from close up. From my position, I can't perceive Zenith's facial expression. However, Claire, who could see Zenith's face, underwent a dramatic change. First, she opened her eyes wide. After that, her lips quivered. Her cheeks, her shoulders, her body, all trembled. When the shivering reached her fingertips, as if slowly being moved by those trembles, both of Claire's hands rose, and grasped Zenith's hands as if to envelop them. Oh. From Claire's mouth, a wail that was neither a cry nor a groan escaped. Claire brought Zenith's hands up to her face as if to kiss them. From her eyes, tears spilled out one after another. At the same time, as if unable to withstand the trembling, Claire crumbled from the knees. At the same time as I heard a voice from behind me, someone quickly passed by my side. It was Carlyle. With both hands bound, he ran up to Claire. Then, while sitting by her, he spoke. Claire, let's stop being obstinate. Dear. Zenith is. Zenith is. Claire clung to Carlyle while crying with a disheveled face. Carlyle looked as if he were going to try to hug Claire's shoulders, but after looking at his handcuffs and deciding it was impossible, instead laid his hands upon Claire's, that were still covering Zenith's. It's okay. Even if you don't strain yourself, it'll be okay. 10. Carlyle said that and stood up. While scanning the room echoing with Claire's cries, he spoke.
I think I feel like I need to wait for the scene to play out before I start commenting.
At Carlyle's words, the room that was frozen in time began to move once more.
I need a full grasp of the situation.
However, the Pope, the Cardinal, Cliff, Belmondo, Therese, and the members of Anastasia Keep, were all looking towards me. The Maiko was tugging on my sleeve. Tugging with both hands. At some point unknown to me, I had released her hand. I understand. I recited myself as if collapsing. The cheek that Zenith slapped still felt hot. TLC please. And Panman. In English. Chapter 200 and...
Fucking hell. Okay. Alright. So, my thoughts on this chapter. Claire still deserves punishment for what she did. 1000%. I don't care what her fucking intentions were. Holy shit. She's a fucking psychopath. And she needs to be stopped. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if she's family. I don't give a fuck, dude. I'm sure many fucking people who've done shit like this have thought that their reasons were just. Does not mean that the means was by any means fucking good, or her fucking end goal was any fucking good. Holy shit. Read on. I guess I'll fucking read. But fucking hell, right now I don't give a fuck about her. We'll keep reading
Chapter
though.
226, For the House, For My Daughter. Part 1. From birth, Claire Latria had a vain and stubborn personality. She was a child who didn't acknowledge her own mistakes, and refused to apologize. To that child, her mother, who would become Rudius's great-grandmother, Melody Latria, said this. Become an upstanding person. 1. That can be called mistaken education. Claire was stubborn and couldn't recognize her own mistakes. If she doesn't make any mistakes, there's no problem with being stubborn. That's what one may think, but there can't possibly be a person who never makes a single mistake throughout one's life. Regardless, the education was a success. Claire became a strict person. Not upright, but strict. Someone strict both to herself and others. Through her education, she came to realize that she couldn't live her life without making mistakes. Thus, in order to not make mistakes, she aimed to be a person who disciplined herself harshly. However, there was a side effect. She became someone who also treated others strictly. Strict with both others and herself. That is the person called Claire Latria. However, even if the education was a success, she wasn't cured of her vanity or stubbornness. Whenever the strict Claire faced hardships, she answered with effort. However, the vain Claire would never let others see the effort and struggles of her suffering or agonizing self. The strict Claire came to expect the same from the people around her. However, the obstinate Claire would not change that even when circumstances called out for it. A truly unpleasant person. In the eyes of others, she succeeds in most things without trying, yet compels others to show the same results as her, and rebukes them for complaining. If you pointed out her mistakes, she would never apologize. A cold person who doesn't care for the hardships of others, and doesn't try to understand their feelings. Of course, there were those who could see through to her true nature. People who recognized the efforts she put in behind the scenes. However, that was it. Even if they could see her efforts, they didn't tell others about it. Compassionate people told her, I recognize your efforts, but others won't unless you stop hiding it. However, she didn't change. My mother's education, my own way of doing things, they're not mistaken, so there's no need to change, is what she thought. As a result, upon her graduation from the Mealy's Holy Kingdom School for Nobles, she was valedictorian, and thoroughly disliked by her peers. Even upon reaching adulthood, she couldn't become a bride. As the eldest daughter of the Latria house, she did receive a number of proposals, but all the noblemen who came face to face with her and saw her strictness and stubbornness would leave as if running away. If I can't become a wife, I can simply become a nun. Upon reaching 18 years of age, Claire said such. As a lady of the Latria house, instead of receiving the label of spinster and bringing shame to her house, that was preferable. It was a common way of thinking among women of the Holy Kingdom of Mealy's at the time. Part 2. There was a young man named Carlyle Grands. Carlyle was a beginner temple knight, and a direct subordinate of Claire's father, Order of the Temple Sword Group middle leader, Ralkin Latria. One night, Claire's father came home drunk. He was normally an austere person. Mostly to himself, but also to Claire and Claire's mother, he was always severe and strict. Thus, for him, returning in that state was a rare occurrence. Of course, it wasn't the first time. To her husband, coming home in this untidy state, Claire's mother would lend her shoulder. She would strip him of his armor, give him water to drink, and beautifully lend him her shoulder, before carrying him to bed. Point 2. At times like these, Claire's mother didn't reprimand her husband. She understood that being a temple knight was a stressful job. Unfortunately, that night Claire's mother had business at her parents' home. Claire saw her father's weaknesses for the first time. Claire reprimanded her father. As the head of the Latria house, what kind of conduct is this? Are your lessons to us just words? And such. This drunk father, to the daughter who saw his weaknesses for the first time, could say nothing. At that time, the one who butted into the conversation was Carlyle, who carried Claire's father home. There's a reason the captain was drinking today. One of our knights fell in battle. It wasn't anyone's fault. However, we were drinking in mourning. The captain was drinking heavily, but that was out of regret for the one who perished. Even if you are the captain's daughter, I won't permit you to slight his feelings. At those words, Claire fell silent. She could think of nothing to say. However, she didn't get angry. She silently assisted her father. She gave water and lent her shoulder to her apologizing father, but couldn't support him on her own, and Carlyle helped her in carrying him to his room, changed his clothes, and put him to bed. And the whole time, Claire didn't say a single word. She knew she was mistaken, but couldn't apologize to her father or Carlyle. Her obstinacy wouldn't permit her to apologize. However, Carlyle saw through her. He saw her acknowledgement of her own mistake hidden in that sullen face of hers. You are a kind person. Carlyle said that as he departed. At that time, Claire couldn't understand what was being said to her. However, She realized that the youth in front of her, probably 1 or 2 years her junior, saw through her. After that, Carlyle was invited to the Latria house at every opportunity, and was eventually taken in as Claire's groom. Part 3. The two of them had 5 children altogether, 1 boy and 4 girls. Claire raised them strictly. She gave them a harsh education, just like she had received herself. The eldest son became a temple knight. The eldest daughter married into a marquis family. The two fulfilled Claire's expectations. They became a fine gentleman and lady that wouldn't bring shame to their family no matter where they were shown in the country of Mealy's. Claire had the most expectations for the second daughter, who was born slightly late. She was superior, even compared to her 2 older siblings. No matter how you looked at her, she was beautiful and pure, a specimen one could be proud of. Zenith Latria. She ran away from home. Betraying Claire's expectations, she fled from home to become an adventurer, and cut off all contact. Claire would call her a stupid daughter. She made the most foolish decision possible, so make sure that you don't turn out like her, she would spit out in anger to her other children. That was the first time in her life she showed that much emotion. The daughter she favored the most became her greatest disappointment. That was a greater shock to her than anyone else. The third daughter, Sarah, also was a disappointment. She got married to a certain baron. However, that baron lost in a power struggle. Sarah got caught up in that struggle, and lost her life. It's rare in the country of Mealy's, that excels in healing magic, for wounds to be fatal, but that's how it turned out. The Latria house made sure that the person who killed her saw a fitting end. However, Sarah won't return. Claire mourned. She mourned just as much as anyone else. As if unrelated to Claire's sorrow, the fourth daughter, Therese, also went contrary to her wishes. Unbefitting of a woman, she joined the Order of the Temple. Claire also spoke out against her in abuse. There's no way a girl like you can get by in the Order of the Temple. Even though if you had properly done as I told you and become a fitting lady, you would have married and become happy and such. Therese scornfully said dying in a power struggle is happiness. And caused a big fight. Claire said never set foot in this household again. And threw her out. At this time, Claire didn't think she had misspoken, not even with a single particle of her being. Neither Zenith or Therese will last for long. She was certain they would return to her, begging and in tears. Part 4. 10 years passed. Zenith still hadn't gotten in touch. Before anyone noticed, Therese experienced exceptional success and became the captain of the Maiko's guard. It's simply that the Maiko is a woman, and so needed a capable female guard. That's what Claire thought, and she wasn't wrong. Therese had high practical skills and commanding abilities, but as a knight her power was only average. But, whenever she attended parties with her husband, Claire would be showered with words such as expected of someone from the Latria house, she can experience great success in any field. Even though she is stubborn, Claire is strict with herself. If she understands she is mistaken, though she won't apologize, she will revise her way of thinking. All the more if the daughter she thought was mistaken had been showing great results. Claire forgave Therese, and reconciled with her. Be that as it may, whenever meeting face to face with Therese, what came out of Claire's mouth was not an apology, but haughty words such as I'll specially forgive you. If Therese hadn't gotten used to interacting with people with disagreeable dispositions in her job as a middle leader of the Order of the Temple, or if she hadn't grown with siblings used to her mother's personality, they would have gotten into another fight. At this time, Claire still had
I
not
still
forgiven
have
Zenith.
the same feelings.
However, if Zenith were to show up, I might allow her to talk it over with me, thought Claire. Point 3.
Let's keep
Part
reading.
5. A few years later, Paul came to the Latria house seeking assistance. There was a magical disaster in the Azura Kingdom. A teleportation incident affecting the Fido region. Paul came as the captain of the missing people search squad, and requested assistance from the Latria house. When Zenith was revealed as one of the missing people, Claire naturally gave her approval. Arguing down Carlyle, she produced both money and personnel. She wanted to find Zenith quickly, and tell her, you see? This happened because you disobeyed me. However, Zenith couldn't be found. 1 year, 2 years passed, yet her whereabouts were still undiscovered. During that time, her husband Paul began to waste away. Without even trying to hide his suffering, he drank even with his daughter present. Claire thought that before Zenith, she should do something for her granddaughter, Norn. She considered sheltering Norn in the household, and tearing her apart from her father. And then, providing her with proper education to make her into a fine lady.
Am I
Claire
still
believed that would be
am
for the
I
best.
supposed to feel sorry
Of course,
for this
Carlyle
bitch?
opposed, thus she couldn't forcibly separate Norn from Paul. Claire impatiently passed the days while watching over Norn. While she was doing so, Paul recovered. From Theresa's story, it seems that his eldest son, Rudius, struck down Paul and corrected him. Then, Claire grew interested in the person called Rudius. But then, taking into account the fact that he didn't even show up at their place to give his greetings, she looked down upon him, thinking such a...
This is a hard... I don't want to fucking say it, but you can humanize a lot of fucking people. You can humanize a lot of fucking psychopaths. A lot of different psychopaths in history you can humanize. Doesn't mean that they're not a fucking piece of shit that should be punished. 10 years in prison sounds fine to me, in all honesty. I don't give a fuck. Just empathy. Empathy. Bitch, she's not being thrown in jail for liking her kids. She's being thrown in jail for kidnapping a person and trying to forcefully have them get fucked. That is the reason why she's going to jail. I have no empathy towards her. She done fucked up. I don't give a shit. And she still has no fucking she still would do it again. I don't give a fuck. Keep on reading bullshit. That's what I think right now.
Son. After that, Paul was confirmed as a bigamist. Point 4. His mistress,
you gotta hear why, bro?
Aisha,
yeah, okay. The reason why I'm pausing, the reason why I'm pausing right now.
Claire is a follower of Mealy's.
The reason why I'm pausing is because I gotta put this shit on record before this whole shit is before the reasoning is stated. I need to put this shit on record. You need to understand what I'm feeling right now before they get to the point where she's at right now. Before they get to the point where she found out about Zenith's condition. I mean, I don't know. It's fucking weird.
Wives. She didn't think such a thing could be forgiven.
We'll see.
However, Paul wasn't an adherent of Mealy's, and Claire knew better than to force her religious beliefs on others. Several times a month, she had Paul's daughters show themselves at the Latria residence and receive education. Studies in good manners and customs. To Claire, such things were a necessity, and it was only natural to study them. Norn couldn't surpass Aisha, and was constantly sulking. Claire hated
I'm gonna fucking read this comment before we continue. Alright, here we go. I mean, considering her upbringing and her personality, it made sense to me, but she's still unlikable, but you see what drove her to those lengths. Just because I understand why a bitch is a bitch, doesn't mean that she's still not a bitch that needs to be imprisoned. Now, if there's a reasoning behind it that clarifies things and makes it less fucking crazy, then by all means, redeem her. Try to, at least. We'll see how it goes.
Things that could be done with effort. She was afraid of losing to Aisha, and would skip crucial steps. Seeing that, Claire said to Norn that there was no need to beat Aisha. She instructed her to simply aim for a level of ability befitting a lady of the Latria house. It was Claire's way of motivation. However, it didn't work on Norn at all. Claire tried to motivate her in every way, but nothing worked. The mistress's daughter, Aisha, made fun of Norn, and that angered Claire. The angry Claire became emotional, and mistreated both Aisha and Lilia. In the end, both Norn and Aisha left her without becoming what she wanted them to. Part 6. A few more years passed. No news of Zenith's discovery arrived, and Claire remembered the days with her grandchildren. Her grandchildren from her eldest son and daughter reached adulthood one after another. They were all raised to be fine Mealy's nobles that wouldn't bring shame to their family no matter where they were to be shown. Already, there were no children to be found in her surroundings, and her grandchildren have all become independent. Norn and Aisha. The two of them should be reaching adulthood soon. I wonder what happened to them. Thinking back, only those two turned out differently than what I wanted. As expected of Zenith's daughters. I wonder what kind of education Zenith was giving them. While thinking that, Claire immediately halted her train of thought. After all, Zenith had no chance to educate her daughters. Almost immediately after they were born, when they were still only 1 or 2 years old, the teleportation incident happened. Point 5. Zenith was never given the chance to provide education to her daughters once they had become aware of their surroundings. Norn was raised only by her father. Aisha as well.
Alright, here we go. Alright, if I have a prediction as to her reasoning is because she wants her to have another chance of potentially raising kids. Being able to fully raise them and shit, instead of whatever the fuck happened to Rudius, Aisha, and Norn. One thing though, one issue. I don't give a fuck. It's not that? Good! Let's fucking continue.
The teleportation incident was never given a proper education and taught to be respectful to the daughter of the legal wife. Whatever else Zenith was, she was diligent in her studies. At one point she was even called the ideal daughter of Mealy's, a splendid lady. Even if she became an adventurer, had she been able to teach them properly. The truth is, Claire missed Zenith very much. She wanted to meet her. She was sure that even if they met, only words of rebuke would come to mind, and Zenith would find her a nuisance, but even so, she wanted to meet her. She got a chance to do so. News of Zenith's rescue arrived from Rudius. News that Zenith had lost her memories and had effectively become a cripple, but even so, was still alive. The contents of the letter were brief, stating where she was found and what happened there in a concise writing style. In an excessively concise manner, it stated the matter of Paul's death. It declared his intent to find a cure, but it made no mention of bringing her back. Claire replied to the letter immediately. No matter what, she wanted to see Zenith again. Part 7. A few more years went by. During that time, Claire searched for methods to cure Zenith. She spoke with doctors and healing magicians throughout Mealy's, and visited the library of the Church of Mealy's a countless number of times. She even researched in the books left behind by the demon races. Normally such a thing would not be forgiven, but she believed that looking through the whole, long history of the country, precedents could be found. And then, she found it. It was quite suspicious, and she wasn't sure whether or not it was true. A completely unbelievable, nauseating method. However, there had certainly been a successful case in the past. It wasn't a demon remedy. There seems to have been a similar case among the elves. A woman appeared in a mindless state, but after having carnal relations with many men, she reclaimed her spirit. A completely untrustworthy description. That's not something that should be attempted. However, after carefully searching for evidence, she found it. It seems that person really did exist. To this day, she still needs to have carnal relationships with men. Claire was troubled. Would it be okay to try it? Zenith would surely hate it. But, even so. If there is no other method. Just as she was done convincing herself, Rudius came with Zenith. Zenith came with her son Rudius and the mistress's daughter, Aisha. Only the three of them. It was only 3 years after sending the letter.
Holy shit, she's fucked!
But she knew that Rudius hurried over. First, I'll greet him with words of gratitude. Then, I'll confirm the progress of her current treatments and the plans from here on out. If there's time, then we'll talk about Norn and Aisha's current circumstances. As soon as she saw Zenith, all those thoughts were blown away. The minute that Claire entered the room, saw Zenith's face, and drawing close, saw her vacant gaze, she was overcome with emotion so strong that it felt as if her heart was being torn apart, and entrusted Zenith to the family doctor, Endel, with a sigh. 6. Endel is the family doctor entrusted with Claire's own deteriorating health, and has been told the general outline of Claire's discovered healing method. Claire regretted ignoring Rudius due to seeing Zenith again after a long time, and turned to face him. Suddenly, she noticed the young woman in maid clothes huddled at the end of the couch. A young woman with dark brown hair. She hadn't forgotten her. However, what immediately caught Claire's eye was her appearance. A maid outfit. Aisha-san, it has been a while. Today. What have you come to do? That is, I came to take care of Zenith Okasama. At that reply, without thinking, Claire's voice grew rough. Taking care of her. In other words, she came as a maid. If that is the case, then there is no reason for her to be sitting while Zenith and Rudius, the heads of the household, are standing. Claire naturally intended to rebuke her. However, Rudius cut in. Naturally. Claire had messed up on the order of things. The Rudius who she met for the first time was a youth who closely resembled Paul. Whether she wanted to or not, his face brought Paul's to her mind. That drunkard Paul, who didn't even have a fragment of character. That Paul. If it weren't for him, Zenith may not have fallen into this state. In Claire's mind, those emotions welled up. As a result, in the following exchange with Rudius, all of her bad side was on full display. With a vain and stubborn personality, while ignoring the mistakes she committed in his presence, she took on a haughty attitude. But Rudius stayed sincere.
10 years.
To Claire's sarcastic words, he answered with sound reasoning. That fair and square attitude improved Claire's evaluation of him. Their conversation went just as Claire had originally hoped it would. The current progress of Zenith's treatment and Norn's current circumstances. As far as Aisha went, the earlier reprimand made things awkward, and Claire stayed silent. Rudius seemed a little estranged from Melis's common sense, but he had self-awareness as the head of the household, and declared he would properly care for Norn. Claire re-evaluated him. He was still young, but he was a wonderful youth with awareness as the head of the household. That's how he was reflected in Claire's eyes. Claire didn't know what to make of his position as the subordinate of Dragon God Orsted. Claire wasn't very knowledgeable about military affairs. However, if he has a friendship with the Queen of Azura Kingdom, he certainly holds a good pedigree, emergent though it may be. With great pedigree comes great responsibility and achievements. Claire could perceive that the man in front of her is probably even more important than she is aware of. Such a man is the son of that Zenith. Thinking of that, Claire experienced a complicated feeling of being both vexed and proud. However, that brings about a problem. The method for treatment she was about to try is something that will undoubtedly bring about rumors. To have a woman be slept with by a great number of men isn't something that can be forgiven. Would Rudius really accept that method of treatment? When she hinted at it, his anger exploded. He loves Zenith, even more now that she has fallen into this condition. Naturally. And Claire thought that he surely doesn't know of that method, and has not tried it. Should she tell him? About the remedy. About how the source may be questionable, but it still gives a hope for treatment.
At
Or maybe,
least
if
do
she
it.
told him of the method in detail, she could get approval. However, thought Claire, the youth in front of her has a future. From what she's heard, he's friends with the priest from the Pope's faction. At the same time, she's also heard rumors of the Pope's grandson returning to Milishan. Since it's such a long trip, it wouldn't be strange at all for them to come together. Honestly, Claire couldn't care less about that power struggle. However, if Rudius is moving as part of the Pope's faction, not as the Latria house, but as the Grere house. If he intends to join the Pope's faction as the subordinate of Orsted. If he intends to take action here in Milishan. That treatment method will become a ball and chain for him. Trying out that remedy on his own mother will undoubtedly become a scandal. Everyone in this country will be talking about him behind his back. He won't be able to keep on living in this country.
What the fuck happened to this?
Should I tell him about that treatment?
What
Should
the
I let him
fuck?
participate? Nay, concluded Claire.
Did this? Yeah,
Best
it
for him to
showed
be
up
aware
on the
of it.
stream, bro.
He
What
shouldn't
the
be told
fuck?
of his mother being
Go
forced to have
there,
relations with
go
many men.
there.
It's best if he stays
What
unrelated.
the fuck was
It's something
that?
Claire did on her own. It's not related to Rudius, who has nothing to do with the Latria house. It's probably best to keep it that way.
That was
Not trying
fucking
out the
weird.
treatment wasn't an option. In any event, Claire had already waited 20 years. She waited 20 years to meet her daughter, and talk with her. And so, Claire began mobilizing. She intended to bear all the consequences herself. She intentionally angered Rudius, and drove him from the Latria house. Using her servants, she kidnapped Zenith. However, her action stopped there. The Zenith that was brought to the house. The Zenith that has grown, and is starting to become old. Her daughter that is still beautiful, and usable as a woman. Is it really alright to let an unknown number of men sleep with her? Of course it isn't. There's no way it could be. However, even Zenith wouldn't want to be in these conditions, where she is a continuous burden to her son. If she could talk, surely she would beg to be cured. Claire rationalized it that way. A rationalization that made even Claire herself sick to her stomach. She wanted someone to stop her. Right now, she's trying to do something she mustn't do. But she can't stop herself anymore. She worried. She suffered. She spent the entire day in the room with Zenith, at wit's end. This Zenith, which kept wasting away day after day, would occasionally show a human-like response, further hurting Claire's heart. 7. The one who stopped her was Carlyle. Carlyle heard the current state of affairs from Therese, and the rest from the family doctor, Endel. About the unreliable treatment, and Claire suffering over whether to try it. His wife was forcing herself to do something unforgivable. To that wife, he gently said this. Before trying that method, let Miko-sama see her. If they can see Zenith's memories, something may become apparent. They may be able to steal their determination. Alternatively, they may give up on that method. Carlyle put forth a petition to get the Miko to look at her memories. Using his authority as a large leader of the Order of the Temple to its full potential, he got his petition approved while hiding Zenith's name and avoiding Rudius's notice. Plans were made to have the Miko, who normally doesn't look at memories on personal reasons, check on Zenith. That was for today. Today was the day that Carlyle and Claire were to secretly bring Zenith to the church's headquarters. Then the kidnapping incident happened. Part 8. Rudius's perspective. And thus, we came here. The story ended there. Claire's eyes were deep red, Carlyle had a grave expression on his face. The others had various reactions. There were some who were grimacing, while others had their arms crossed with difficult expressions. Therese covered her mouth in shock. The Miko was smiling as if to say she was aware from the very beginning. Cliff was expressionless. Maybe he has heard all this before. However, hearing that story, I could understand. What Claire was trying to do is something unforgivable. Even if she did it all just because she was trying to help, that sort of thing, to her daughter, is unforgivable. I can't forgive it, and neither can society. The Mealy's doctrine can't forgive it. I don't know if it is illegal in this country, but looking at the expressions of the audience, it is undoubtedly something that will besmirch the name of the
trying
house.
to protect this bitch,
Certainly,
bruh.
had I participated in that, my objectives in this town would have been impossible. That's why she didn't involve me. She tried to do something about it on her own. She worried on her own, and accepted the consequences on her own. But, unfortunately, Claire was mistaken. That remedy is from 200 years ago, correct? When I said that, Claire raised her face in surprise. That's right. 200 years ago, a girl with the same symptoms was found. And that girl was chased from her village as a result of those actions. For you to know that, don't tell me you've already tried it. Of course not. That case. It's probably Ellen Elise. Of course, it differs from the truth. From a similar state to Zenith's, it took her decades to regain her sanity. She didn't become a bitch until later. Point 8. However, second-hand information is often incorrect. It's not strange for second-hand information to be distorted. I haven't tried it, but I have spoken to that woman in person, and heard it from her. I may not have written about Ellen Elise in the letter. There were many things I was keeping secret at the time. Is that so? Claire dropped her shoulders as if all her strength had left her. However, her expression does look slightly relieved. Then, everything I was doing was meaningless. That seems to be the case. Is that so? If she had told me about the treatment method on the first day, I wouldn't have exploded like that. No, Grandma, I've met that woman and it's completely different from the story. That kind of thing won't cure her. I would have laughed it off like that. Yup. Probably. You should have told me. If you hadn't known about the ineffectiveness of that method, would you have refused to try it? 9. I couldn't answer. I can't say no. If Ellen Elise said, I was cured by having sex, would I have tried it? I probably wouldn't have tried it at first, and searched for another method. However, several years have passed since then. If no other methods came up, I wonder what I would have done. After worrying, I wonder what kind of conclusion I would have come to. However, you already knew. How foolish I've been. Claire said that and once again let out tears. Trying to do something inhuman to her own daughter, she probably couldn't bear to show her face in public. There are still ill feelings left, probably. Depression probably grasps her heart. I feel refreshed. I can finally understand her actions until now. For her daughter, for the house. There were no falsehoods in Claire's words. Furthermore, this situation. The situation where this case was attempted to be put to use in the power struggle. She at least tried not to reveal what she was trying to do. She wanted to bear the weight of the sin by herself. That way she could at least protect the Latria house. To protect Therese and the uncle and aunt I still have not met. Of course, the way she went about things was mistaken. She can't deny that. There should have been a better way to do it. There should have been many other ways to approach the problem. However, that was for mine and Zenith's sake. For her daughter, for the house. That's why me and Carlyle were struck by Zenith. HAAA. I let out a sigh. Then, I turned to Cliff. The Cliff who suddenly covered for Claire. When did Cliff Senpai hear about it? This story. This morning. I coincidentally ran into them at the headquarters. Why didn't you stop them at the time? You also know about Elanali-san's case, right? As far as the specifics, I was only told that the method is something unforgivable as a person. I guess that's the case. She never told anyone before, even to Cliff she would be hesitant. I was planning to tell you sometime today, but... sorry. It was certainly impossible in this situation. This is Cliff, after all. I'm sure at that time he censured Claire and Carlisle. What you're doing is wrong. Quickly returned Zenith and apologized to Rudius and such. Then, losing to that attitude, Carlisle explained the circumstances. Hearing something unforgivable, he would have wavered in his own way. Probably would have fallen silent, too. That's why, when I didn't even ask for an explanation, he admonished me. Point 10. All he needed to do was to stop me here. Just tell me that Claire was properly thinking about Zenith. He thought he could once again see signs of a peaceful solution. I can't say that his methods were good. But he was sympathizing with Claire's and Carlisle's feelings. You could certainly say it's like Cliff. At any rate, I understand now. I feel refreshed. Now then, I ask you once again. As soon as I've settled my feelings, Cliff addressed the entire assemblage. This case is the result of a woman trying to save her daughter. Using this to gang up on and torment her, can you really say that is in accordance with St. Melis's teachings? The Pope was smiling. The Cardinal was sullen. The Order of the Church and the Order of the Temple were making slightly relieved faces. They all looked at Cliff. This case was merely an accident. Furthermore, it was an accident where fortunately not a single person passed away. Caused by a lone mother, a kind accident. It certainly took time and caused a disturbance.
Oh, fuck.
It temporarily brought about
My
a calm
camera
mood, and there were those
died
that were injured.
again. Ah,
However,
shit.
what say you? Shouldn't we let this all be water under the bridge,
Bro, what
and
the
forgive her,
fuck?
and judge her with generosity?
Camera?
Cliff said that. and looked at me.
Camera?
Rudius, you have the right to decide.
Camera?
You have been the most hurt by this, and won your battle. I let go of the Maiko's hand long ago. However, the Maiko has been sitting at my side all along, smiling. As if saying she knew this would happen all along. An attitude as if she had seen through everything. This person. I think it's fine. I said that calmly. I still have a few reservations.
I know what the
However,
issue is.
I just need to talk with Claire more in depth later. If I talk more with
But
that
I'm
person,
not gonna
my
fix
feelings
it.
will also vanish. However, let me present 3 conditions. I have conditions. Conditions for me releasing the Maiko. It may be shameless, but 3 of them. First, for Maiko-sama to look at my mother's memories to see if she can recover them. Of course it's fine. There were such plans in the first place. I was talking to the Cardinal, but the one who answered was the Maiko. As if to say she already understood. I wonder if she already knew that she was going to be examining Zenith today. If she knew about it, then she let herself be abducted by me in order to guide me here. It's possible. However, I can't recover memories, so I probably can't cure her. But I'd still like you to try. Your Holiness the Cardinal, do you mind? Not at all. The Cardinal seems to be in a good mood. Probably because it doesn't seem like the Latria house that's in his faction will be receiving damage. Second, in exchange for this case being water under the bridge, you must provide your full assistance to Dragon God Orsted. Naturally, I have no objections. Same here. The Pope naturally gave his approval, and the Cardinal nodded as well. It looks like getting approval for the Ruger dolls will also be possible. It may have been better if I struck the Cardinal just now, but it seems like things will settle in an overall beneficial way to me, so I'll let it go at that. And then, for the last one. I looked at Claire and Carlisle. The two looked back at me stiffly. Please allow me to reconcile with the Latria house. At those words, first Therese made a relieved gesture. Carlisle lowered his head apologetically. Claire burst into tears. She cried while making sobbing noises. Cried while making a voice that seemed to say both I'm sorry and thank you. Zenith gently stroked at Claire's face. Thus, the curtain drew on the case in Mealy's. The word used for upright here could also...
She's a wench. She's a bitch. A bitch and a half. Holy shit, I don't like her. Do I understand her? I understand making terrible decisions. I understand that, she's fucking weird, champ. I understand that she is like, what the fuck? Just basically equivalent of keep letting your child get raped over and over again, basically. That's basically what it is. It's like, oh my gosh. I must have the vegetable get fucked constantly, you know? It must fix... It will fix the problem. Man, I hate Claire even with her good parts. Man, I love Claire even with all of her faults. Bruh. She's still not a likable person, but I get her. Just because she's understandable doesn't mean she's a fucking crazy. Nice then, I guess you hate Oldius. Oh, I hate his actions, but I find him incredibly interesting. Way more interesting than fucking Claire. Because Oleus did even worse shit, bro. Bro, like, holy fuck. Like, I don't like what Oleus does, but he's fucking interesting as shit. And his backstory, holy fuck. And also, there's something more twisted to killing. There's something more twisted to having your kid get raped several fucking times. There's something twisted about that and really fucking cringe compared to killing a bunch of people, which is incredibly bad. But when it's a fictional story, it's like huh, weird champ, you know. Let me keep reading the comments. I think Claire is a good character despite all her flaws. She's a fine character. I think she was written well, but she's still fucking crazy. Kidnapping in this series. I hate Bash from Far Cry 3, but it's awesome. Y'all getting hyped up about some kidnapping. It's not about just kidnapping. It's about fucking, like, willing to have your fucking daughter get raped over and over again until she gets healed, which will potentially take decades. Which is, what the fuck? What would you do if you were in her place? I wouldn't do... Okay, if I found that fucking method, I'd fucking tell Rudius, like, bro, I found this fucking weird ass fucking way to cure her. Have you tried that? If so, fuck you. Basically, that's what I would fucking say. I would never fucking try it. Unless, and this is the only fucking time, because it just so happens that you have a bitch who reads minds. Unless you're able to read Zenith's mind and she's able to give consent to that, I am completely fucking against that shit. Because you have no fucking clue. She was raised to never be wrong. It works in coma words. See the story of the pregnant coma victim. Woke up during a delivery after many years of sleep. Oh, wait, you have to see what Zenith actually knows. Alright, we're just gonna have to fucking read on.
Chapter 227, Results of Obligation.
Because I imagine that the Miko's probably gonna...
Let's take a moment to summarize it. The full picture. The Miko was saved thanks to Rudius. The Mealy's religious community was held responsible for the incident.
Time to cry, bitch.
The church shouldered the responsibility, and proclaimed that they would fully cooperate with Dragon God Orsted and Rudius Guerre, and, moreover, support them. There was no formal decision regarding the treatment of the demon race, that was left as a legal question to be settled at a later time. It was that kind of thing. The two principal offenders, the Pope and the Cardinal, naturally signed the contract. The cold sweat running down the Cardinal's forehead was really cute. The Miko was returned in exchange for the contract. As for the parties responsible, it was decided that a trial would be held at a later date in order to have them take full responsibility for this incident. I don't know how that will turn out. The Cardinal might flee before receiving his sentence. Well, tracking people down is part of my job description. If they're not one of Hitagama's lackeys, then they're just a minor nuisance. Even if the Cardinal was taken out of the picture, the expulsion faction wouldn't disappear. For the time being, everything has worked out. The incident has been resolved. Part 2. Afterwards, Zenith, Cliff, and I returned to the house. On the way back, Cliff sighed and apologized. Sorry. I looked back at him, puzzled. What's this, suddenly? If you think about it, this kidnapping incident originated from my careless remarks. Even though we reached a good resolution. Taking credit for that would just be self-important lip service. I felt like I was just blundering about. I suppose. It wasn't really like that though. You acted following your beliefs, argued without reserve, and led us to that good resolution.
Hold up. I need to look back. So so they don't fucking say when, like, what Claire's punishment is, or if it's the same or not.
If they're not one of Hiragana's
I
lackeys,
don't
then they're just
fucking
look
know.
back at him, puzzled. What's this, suddenly?
I don't fucking
If you
know.
think about it, this kidnapping incident originated
Might
from
is
my
brain
careless
dead?
remarks.
Did she
Even
actually
though we
just
reached a
not
good
get
resolution,
punished? I don't know.
taking credit for that would just be self-important lip service. I felt like I was just
I don't
blundering a
know.
bit, I suppose. It wasn't really like that though. You acted following your beliefs, argued without reserve, and led us to that good resolution. It's the usual Cliff senpai. I'm not worried about it, we can reflect on this matter and make use of it next time. Ah, yes. Cliff shrugged. Normally, in Cliff's position, someone would be more worried about their own situation. Wendy was waiting for us when we arrived home. Only Wendy. Ah, welcome back. I suddenly started to worry about Aisha and Jisoo, they're safe right? While we were drawing up the contract, I asked the Cardinal and the Temple Knights but they just responded with we don't know. Are they busy preparing some sort of trump card, or? Aisha-san, Jisoo-san, it's safe. My worries were groundless. 2 people came out from under the floor. Phew, welcome home, Oniakan. And Zenith Okasan. The 2 of them let out a sigh of relief. Hearing their circumstances. Apparently Claire and Carlisle left for the religious headquarters early this morning,
Cool to
and
see
after
that
learning
they're
that,
fine.
they immediately set out to inform me.
Hell yeah.
But, it was already too late. By the time they arrived at the headquarters, the Temple Knights had already begun to move. I had already moved to make contact with Therese, and Claire was already inside the headquarters. With all these pieces moving, they knew something must have happened. Thinking that, they remembered my instructions, and returned to Cliff's house.
Oh,
They planned to wait
okay,
until night,
fine.
and then make their escape from the town. The Temple Knights came looking here several times,
Alright.
and I properly turned them away.
I see the
Wendy seems to have done her
confirmation
job
from the
correctly this
chat. Alright.
However, the Cardinal was targeting
Thanks.
Aisha and Jisoo as I suspected. Dangerous. Oniakan, since Okasan has come home, that means. Ah, yes, it's over. I explained the details to Aisha and Jisoo. After I'd finished explaining, Aisha's eyes were twinkling, and she started talking in a voice of admiration. Something like that, Oniakan, you're a hero. Even with your back up against a wall. You wrapped everything up in just a day. Saying something so absurd. What kind of unsightly hero would I make? Part 3. The next day. I took Zenith to the religious headquarters for the Maiko to give her a neurological exam. 2 people, Carlisle and Claire, came to pick us up at Cliff's house in a horse-drawn carriage. While we were riding in the carriage, I was chatting with Carlisle. He seems to deeply regret what had happened, and apologized profusely. I don't intend to keep blaming him for that. Even if he was a little at fault. People make mistakes. What's important is to reflect on
Someone's
it,
going to
learn
kill
from
the
it,
Maiko
and move
before
on.
she's able to
Around
examine
here,
her.
it would be embarrassing for me to talk about the proper way to deal with one's
Behold the
problems. I'm
secrets to
hardly
the
in a position to be whining
universe.
about the failures of
Her
others.
mind
You
is
can't
a
keep moving forward
black
without overcoming
abyss
failures. You shouldn't be beholden to me to move on.
full
Although
of
Carlisle was talkative, Claire
information
hadn't
and
spoken a word.
shit.
Out of the 5 people riding in the carriage, only she was silent. I wonder what she's thinking about. Should I ask her? While I was procrastinating, we arrived at the headquarters. I went through the normal formalities, and was granted an audience in the center of the headquarters. We were brought to a room. This is probably the room the Maiko normally uses. Just like when I met with the Pope, it was a room divided by a transparent barrier with 2 chairs and a window. It was a little dim, 6 escorts stood guard. Therese wasn't among them. I wonder if she was replaced. Anyway, it looks like the escorts are going to stay for the examination. Well, I shouldn't need to be particularly cautious of them this time. All of them had embarrassed expressions and avoided looking in my direction. I don't need an apology. You guys were just doing your jobs.
He
And I was just
knows
doing my job when I knocked
that
you guys
night
out,
with the
so we're
2
even.
goddesses.
We were both just
Oh
doing
my
our jobs, so it's
gosh.
all good. Point 1. In any case, we should all try to get along. If these guys hold a grudge, I'll have to watch my back. So we should try to get along as well as we can. Then, I'll start. Maiko and Zenith were sitting in the 2 chairs, facing each other. Dust held Zenith's head, and had her meet the Maiko's eyes. Then, the Maiko brought her face closer and had a look. It almost seems like an eye exam. Oh. Looking at the Maiko, Zenith's eyes glistened. Her eyes seemed brighter. Still no expression though. As they were staring into each other's eyes, it looked as if faint streaks of light were darting between them. Until now, I'd never seen such a light. As one would expect of Maiko-sama. As divine as ever. Her lackeys were gushing under their breath. Until now, such a light did not come out. I wonder. No, that light might only appear when she gets serious. Like fire magic becoming hotter and brighter as more
He
light
knows
is used.
about his hidden
This kind
room
of
in her
phenomenon might just be
in the
visible when the Maiko
basement. Oh
seriously
no.
uses her abilities. It really looks like a line of light. Claire was tightly grasping her hands in front of her chest as she watched.
The black
She had a pose
abyss.
like she was in prayer. I braced myself as well. Right now, the Maiko is looking into Zenith's memories. The depths of the labyrinth. Maybe a memory of being trapped in the magic crystal. If she can find whatever caused this in Zenith's memories, then we might be able to figure out a cure. Just give me a hint. If we can just get a hint, maybe one of my knowledgeable acquaintances can figure something out. Orsted, or Kisirika. Ah. The Maiko raised a small voice, and trembled with a start. Dust immediately let go of Zenith and put his hand on the Maiko's shoulder to comfort her. Download complete. The Maiko stood up, wide-eyed. Looking directly at me. Rudius Rere. Yes. I straightened myself up after hearing my full name being called. I have seen the memories of Zenith Rere. How is she? Before the metastasis event, she lived in Buena Village, part of the Fidoa territory, raising Norn and Aisha while working in the village's clinic. You're starting from there? Well, yeah. Not speaking about what you've carefully observed. It seems appropriate to speak on it after all that. After she was separated from you, Zenith thought about you every day. Did Rudy eat properly? Is he properly changing his clothes? How many girls has he called out to? Oi. I'm sorry. Well, it's not like I was really fooling around back then. That was back when the government of the Rudy's lower
Buckle up.
continent was at peace.
Okay, I'm
That
buckling
was still
up.
several
I'm
years
gonna,
before the invasion of
I'm
the
gonna
defenseless Sylvie country.
fucking
I can hardly remember a
not
time
read
before Sylvie.
ahead.
Her memory was dyed pure white in worry about you, and then it's temporarily interrupted. The metastasis event. I was an eyewitness to that moment. But, most people didn't even survive long enough to comprehend what had happened, being teleported before they noticed. Back then Paul was still in his prime, and so was Lilia. Afterwards, her memory becomes pitch black for a while. For a while, what? That's right. For a long time, like time passing by in a dream. So there's no memory of becoming trapped. That means she must have been teleported directly into the crystal in the labyrinth. But something like that should be really unlikely. However, it's still possible even if it's unlikely. After a teleport, there's always the possibility of ending up buried in a wall somewhere. Well, that shouldn't happen if the magic circles are properly linked, but that's not the case for random teleportation circles. That metastasis event really was a surprise attack. If I remember correctly, it was caused because Nanahoshi was teleported to this world. Well, that's already in the past. Even as a person who was wrapped up in that incident, I don't think teleportation magic should be treated as a taboo, as long as it's properly managed. If it were properly studied and implemented, then it would have been possible to deal with a disaster like the metastasis event more quickly. Yeah. I should advise Ariel about that. If I submit a research report on teleportation, Ariel could probably figure something out.
Lore.
But, then, how did Jitsu find out about Zenith? He's certainly good at collecting information, but how did he know about the teleport labyrinth? Then, she had a dream. I returned from my thoughts at the Maiko's words. For the time being, let's postpone Jitsu's cross-examination. A dream. Yes. A dream. In it, she had the sensation of being carried like a stuffed toy. A stuffed toy too. Yes, it was a pleasant dream. Then, the Maiko closed her eyes. As if she were describing images on the backs of her eyelids, she began to speak fluidly. She had a dream of living comfortably in a strange house. Spending time with Lilia, basking in the sun, caring for the garden. Then, the Maiko's tone changed. She began speaking from Zenith's perspective. Paul died, Rudy married Sylvie-chan and had a daughter. But as I thought, Rudy brought home more women. First Roxy-chan, then Eris-chan. However, everyone, even Sylvie-chan, was happy. Although Norn complained, she properly went to school and made friends, and she would never forget to say Okasan, see you later. In the meantime I got along well with Aisha. She really seems to like flowers. She would casually chat with me about things like so does Zenith-sama like apples and daffodils too. I think it would be fine if she called me Okasan too, but then Lilia would make a troubled face. Aisha is still sensitive about that topic. Roxy-chan has started teaching at a school near the house. According to Norn, she's a very popular teacher. Even though she still looks like a child, she's from a demon race that doesn't age quickly and has already lived for many years. But, Rudy loves Roxy-chan very much.
I'm gonna block
so
the
doesn't
chat.
matter.
I'm gonna
Then
block
I met
the
Eris-chan
chat.
for the first time. She really loves Rudy as well.
I'm gonna block the
When
chat.
no one was looking, she came to me
I'm
with a bright red
minimizing
face
the
and said I
chat.
am still inexperienced, please treat me well. I couldn't help letting a smile out. I see why she didn't want to say that in front of Rudy, but being humble is good too. Then, Eris-chan's face turned a deep red and she squeezed her arms. She usually puts on such a brave face, so cute. Those were her memories from the past several years. But, I remember it slightly differently. Norn rarely called out to Zenith. And even when Aisha talked with Zenith gardening, Zenith never reacted. But, perhaps, from Zenith's perspective, she seemed to be engaged in everyone's conversations. And then, Rudy's children. Lucy is a precocious child. Though she's still small, she has to grow up to be a good Onichan. Sylvie-chan has been working hard to teach her, practicing magic with her every day on Rudy's behalf. I used to be so exhausted raising my own children. I can't help but feel that I've lost, being surrounded by so many good mothers. I'll be alright, even if my kids have all grown up, I can still try my best at other things. Everyone doing their best is too adorable. Point 3. Lara really took a liking to me. From the moment she was born, she was able to talk. She would always call out to me. Oh Bachan, oh Bachan. Then Leo would call out to me, it's serious. It's serious. Lara-sama has wet herself. These days, she enjoys sitting in my lap with Leo and basking in the sun. We would talk about things like my hometown, or where her papa grew up. Aruz loves breasts. He seems like Rudy when he was younger. When I hold him, he really likes clinging to my chest. I guess he's fine even with grandma's breasts. It looks like he inherited something bad from Paul and Rudy. Like Rudy, I'm worried that he might make a lot of good girls cry, but you'll make them happy in the end, right? Before I'd noticed, my eyes were starting to get hot. Tears were falling like raindrops. Lucy isn't really around Zenith much, and Lara doesn't speak. More than half seems to be Zenith's own delusions. Looking out through those vacant eyes. At least the world Zenith sees is affectionate. Oh that's right, and speaking of Rudy, that child became the subordinate of an amazing person. Dragon God Orsted. A distant disciple of the dragon god Europen, one of the 3 heroes who vanquished the demon god. Point 4. Apparently he's incredibly strong, and everyone is frightened of him, but he doesn't seem that scary to me. He really just wants to get along with everyone, especially Rudy. He often comes to check on the house. Once in a while I try to talk to him, but I'm not that good with talking to strangers. I become completely flustered. But he's a kind person. Whenever Lucy is troubled in magic, he teaches her some tricks. Since they are difficult tricks, Lucy generally isn't able to understand them. When I let him try to hold Lara, though he nervously holds her in his arms, the way he does it looks very kind. But Leo and Aruz aren't very good with him. The other day, when Aruz started crying very loudly, he ran away when he saw Eris-chan was coming. Such a strong and gentle person. Becoming the subordinate of such an amazing person, I don't really understand it, but I'm proud of it. Even Paul would surely think so. I wonder if any of this is true. Something like Orsted visiting the house never happened. Has he been checking on the house without me knowing? Rudy has grown up splendidly. Norn and Aisha have come of age, and Sylvie-chan is about to have another child. Lilia becoming flustered, not being able to look after me, foolishness. Between caring for me and the children, shouldn't caring for the children be given priority? I'll leave Lilia to care for Sylvie-chan, I'll be fine going to Okasuma's place. You don't have to worry so much, I used to be an adventurer back in the old days after all. I'll be with Rudy, Aisha, and Rudy's friend Cliff-kun. Yufufu, going on a journey with Rudy, how exciting. Those seem to be Zenith's more recent memories. Okasuma looks like such a granny now. She's completely different from the old days. Rather than scold me, she just sobbed, Zenith, Zenith. She was worried if I was hurt, or fell ill, and showed me to a doctor. As you can see, I am very much alive. She's so prone to worrying, showing me to the doctor almost every day. That tough Okasan, with a crying face, didn't scold me at all. Every day she would come to see me with a worried face. Ah yes, father came too. Otosan seems to have grown a beard. In the old days he never would have done such a thing, he seems to have had a long, successful career. He said my condition didn't look good with a wry smile. Claire suddenly buried her face in Carlyle's chest. Carlyle was stroking his beard, also with tears in his eyes. It's just that, Okasuma and Rudy developed a bad relationship. Rudy snapped and got into a fight with Okasuma. I wish you would just reconcile. Then, sure enough, Rudy managed to corner Okasuma. He's just like Paul at that age, Rudy is really strong, he's not going to go easy on her. So I had to properly mediate the situation. Then, the Maiko opened her eyes. That's it? Phew. The Maiko rubbed her eyes and sighed. Then collapsed back into her seat. Her lackeys immediately went to her side. They gave her a cup of water and a hot towel, they must have prepared it beforehand. Then massaged her shoulders and arms. They're treating her just like an idol. I'm sorry, that was everything. Was it of any help? The Maiko looked dead tired. Using her ability must be really exhausting. I'm worn out just from watching her. Reading all of Zenith's memories, and downloading them into her brain. Then watching an entire impromptu play of Zenith's life. With that much information being processed in an instant, of course it's tiring. I could also use a shoulder massage. No, but thank you very much. I still don't know a method to treat Zenith. But, I was able to understand Zenith's feelings. That alone makes my trip to Mealy's worthwhile. At least I know that she's happy. And that she remembers Paul, and that he has passed away. I understand her present condition now. Zenith understands what's happening around her. She has thoughts. Although the Maiko's tone made it seem as though she was in a dreamlike state, there were no contradictions in facts like the number of children. Or their personalities. But Lara was slightly different. Lara is certainly attached to Zenith. In Zenith's eyes, Lara might be trying to convey something with all her might. Possibly. I was also able to learn something else. I don't know how, but she seems to be able to read people's thoughts. Read thoughts? Because she's in such a state I may not be reading her memories correctly, but there's something I have to tell you. The Maiko said so in a hushed voice. Then gestured to me to lend her my ear. Her lackeys behind her immediately covered their ears. I brought my ear close to the Maiko. Then, she spoke in a very quiet voice. Zenith is a Maiko. At those words, I nodded slowly. I suspected as much. It was very likely she had some sort of curse. If this becomes known, it will cause an uproar, so I recommend you keep this hidden. Of course. I swear, as Orsted's subordinate, I will defend her. Truly, as one would expect. Well, after letting her get kidnapped, I might be a hypocrite for saying that. But I intend to live on such a feeling. However, I have learned 2 things. 1. Zenith's ability. The ability to read thoughts. It's still not clear, but at least it doesn't seem like an ability that could lead directly to her death. Point 5. That gives me a sense of relief.
I'm
The other thing,
bring back chat.
There's a discrepancy in something he said. Come to think of it, that guy's movements have been strange throughout this entire mess. Despite knowing the Latria house is part of the expulsion faction, he approached them, then took Zenith out. I'll have to question him thoroughly. Maiko-sama, I am very glad that we were able to meet. There must be something I can do as thanks. I still don't know how to cure Zenith. But, she
I don't
seems to
think
be in a
there
better
is a
state than
cure,
I thought.
bruh.
She is conscious. Even if it's a feeling like watching a dream. Perhaps she might suddenly wake up. Thank you. Then there are 2 things, is that okay? What can I do for you? Could I have that bracelet? Bracelet. I looked down at my arm. There, Orsted's bracelet was shining. Yes. But, this bracelet is not something I can remove, and it wouldn't have any use to you. It won't matter. People already know you are working for Orsted-sama at a glance. I'm already identified as Orsted's subordinate pretty much everywhere. So, in other words. Maiko-sama, do you also want to join Orsted-ko? Yes. If I die before I become 30, it will be unpleasant. I see. Come to think of it, her fate was described as weak. In that case, she's destined to die. She could die of an illness, but she doesn't really have bad health, so she'll probably end up being assassinated. But, under Orsted's protection. Now that the Cardinal's position has been weakened, and with the Pope as my ally, it would become difficult to interfere. Though it's not absolute. Well, that should work. Then, I'll make arrangements to provide a symbol of the Dragon God within a few days. Thank you. With this I'll make it past 50. I need to repay her for her help properly. I'll get her something with the Dragon God's crest, I'll even throw in a free Guardian Beast summoning. And your other request. Please commute Teresa's sentence. As it is, she'll be demoted and sent far away. But, that can't be helped. Although she was just carrying out her orders, she failed to protect you. Well. Because she was defeated by Rudius, the Cardinal suffered a serious blow. If she's sent away, she may end up being killed. And she was always a kind-hearted guard. She's already served her purpose. If the Cardinal's faction killed Teresa as revenge, that wouldn't be funny. Even though it turned out like this. She's still someone I'm indebted to. She was used to, she had to follow her orders, being killed for something like that is too much. Okay. Thank you. Then please sign our petition. One of her lackeys immediately produced official-looking documents. Preparation is good. I wonder if this was their intention from the beginning. Well then, Rudius-sama. I look forward to working with you. Thus, the Maiko became one of Orsted's subordinates. Part 4. Rudius-sama. Afterwards, while we were waiting in the carriage, Claire spoke. She no longer wore that cold, stubborn expression. This must be her nervous face. Although this may not be an appropriate place to hold such a conversation, when I calmed down, I realized we would likely be too busy to speak after this, so let's talk now. Will that be all right? I nodded in silence. Did she find out? Is she angry that I have 3 wives? Even if it's all right with 2 people, 3 people might be. It's not something that would be permitted in the Mealy's religion. It's about what I did. Okay. It was different. It seems to be something about herself. Yet. She's not trying to denounce me, or blame me. No, she might still be difficult. Without changing her expression, she started speaking. What I was attempting to do was not something permissible as a human being. Yet. Even if it was to help Zenith, that was going too far. After all this, I don't want to have a carefree chat about it in a place like this. So, please give me penance. Penance. Yes, penance. I took Zenith away from you, and tried to do something awful. Such a crime requires a suitable punishment. I think your apology was enough.
Please, dude.
Such a thing is not enough.
What the
punishment must fit the crime.
fuck?
I can understand that. If everything could be settled with an apology, the police would be unnecessary. In an incident like this, the perpetrator would normally receive severe corporal punishment. But, I don't blame Claire. Even though Claire might not be satisfied with that. What kind of punishment would be fitting? To be whipped, or to have both arms cut off? Even death would not be an unfitting punishment. That seems like overkill. After listening to Zenith's story, how could I act so selfishly? Even considering doing something like that to my own daughter, I deserve to burn in hell. Such a stupid person only deserves the hammer of judgment. Her fist was trembling. Were we listening to the same story? I never heard such a thing. I heard something else. Zenith forgave her. I didn't understand it at the time. But, she could sense Claire's anguish. Now I properly understood. Claire, at that trial, without a single ally, when you were trying to bear the brunt of the blame yourself, you were forgiven. That's why Zenith slapped Carlyle and I, but didn't slap Claire. Although I thought something like that was too far-fetched at the time. It wasn't. Well, Claire still needs a reasonable punishment. Claire herself, rather than forgiveness, wants a punishment. Until she receives one, she won't budge an inch. I mean, I wonder what I should do with someone so stubborn. All right. I understand. Well then. Claire looked tense. I'm bad, let's go in a selfish direction. Please convert. You mean, to your religion? A faith of the demon race. That's not it? I didn't mean a religious conversion. I'd be too embarrassed if you converted to Roxyism. In this case, what should I say? Well, the phrasing isn't worth worrying about. No, I don't mean stop being a Mealy's believer. I'd just be thankful if you left the demon race expulsion faction. You mean, the Latria house as a whole. Only Claire's Anne is fine. My wife is actually a demon race, so describing them as filthy is no good. And I'd like you to accept the differences in our beliefs and education policies. And next time, if something happens please consult me. I should be able to find a solution. I think. Claire watched me with a blank look of amazement. Then nodded immediately. Yes, of course. Claire didn't look like she needed any more convincing. Does she understand that's the punishment? I can't tell. But, she seems to have given it some thought, and nodded again. Henceforth, Claire Latria is of the demon race acceptance faction, and will act as such. I will trust you, and won't interfere in your religion or educational policies. Thank you in advance. But, don't overdo it. Forcing yourself too much is bad. Of course. For the time being, if this Bachin becomes a little more lenient, she shouldn't cause any trouble with my wives and daughters. Right. Now she seems fine, but she might just be restraining herself. The next time we meet. Well, if we quarrel, then I apologize in advance. Then it's settled. For your kindness, thank you. Claire was silent at first, but nodded with a serious face. That's an awkward way to apologize. Part 5. After that, I returned to Cliff's house. I've arranged to stop by the Latria house some other time. My first priority is Jisoo. There's a lot I need to hear. Regarding this matter, and others. Thinking back, that guy's timing was always too good. It's about time I heard everything in detail. Well then, I'm going to go look for Jisoo. I left Aisha and Zenith in the house. Then immediately left to find Jisoo. Oniakan, wait for a moment. I was
Bro, that
stopped by Aisha.
fucking
She sounded urgent, and held something out to me in her hand.
fucking...
This. In her hand, she was holding a letter. A letter with a wax seal. On the front was written to Rudius. As soon as Oniakan departed, Jisoo-san came and left this letter with Wendy. I silently received it, leaving it with that timing. I have a bad feeling.
Oh, fucking hell, that
began.
is true. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck, wait, yeah. I forgot Laura's a fucking, meager or whatever. Fucking hell. That's so fucking weird.
Reading its contents. To Rudius point 6.
I
Yo,
didn't get
Senpai.
that. I didn't
After
get
returning from
that.
listening to the Maiko, now that you're reading this letter, you probably figured it out. Did you figure it out? Hey, you figured it out, right? If you still haven't figured it out, then this letter is my mistake. Oh well. Now, Senpai probably has doubts. About how I found Zenith's location. About why I took Zenith out at such a convenient time. About way back when I first met with Senpai. About how I coincidentally met Senpai in the Durdaya tribe's village. You're probably wondering about that. However, that much could only be expected from the S-class adventurer Jisoo-sama. Let me explain. Everything, all of it, was on Hitagami-sama's instructions. Hitagami-sama gives me advice, and I follow it. In short, I guess that makes me one of Hitagami's apostles. So I deceived Senpai. Are you surprised? After all this, what do you think? Or, are you mad? You're probably mad. Ha, that's natural. But, ever since I was a child, I've only been able to survive thanks to God-sama's advice. When I was half dead, whenever I was in a pinch, I would be saved if I could just hear his voice. For someone like me, who doesn't have the power to fight, that voice was salvation. It was like that for Senpai too, right? You were able to return from the demon continent because of Hitagami-sama's help. You were able to meet Ruger Dana, obtain a demon eye. Have me sent to get you out of jail, and rescue your younger sister. Hitagami-sama even helped find Zenith. After all that, Senpai. You betrayed Hitagami-sama. Why would you do something like that? Hitagami-sama is a good god. He gives us advice for our own sake. Senpai brought God's wrath down upon himself. Senpai betrayed God. Point 7. Even if we were used, we received his favor, and we remain because of that. Well, I'm not good with letters. At least, before my hometown was destroyed, I thought so. Hitagami-sama used me to destroy my hometown. Hitagami-sama just laughed in the end. You and I were used like that, huh? Of course I was angry. I was deceived, I was taken advantage of, stop screwing around. Nevertheless, at that moment, Hitagami-sama called out to me. He said something like I've been helping you until now, so a thing like this should be okay. Maybe he was just trying to stir me up. It was like pouring oil on a fire. I wonder if he felt good sneering at me. But, I thought, it was already a sunk cost. That's right. If I thought about it, this was just a trade for all the help I'd been given until now. Honestly, even I bear a grudge with every fiber of my being. But that doesn't matter. I guess Senpai doesn't think the same way. While reading, you're probably thinking something like, "Oi newbie, what are you thinking?" However, even if Senpai disagrees, it was different for me. From my perspective, Senpai is ungrateful. Turning fangs towards your benefactor. So Senpai, you might hate me, but I've chosen my side. Point 8. This time, I played wait and see. In order to measure Senpai's ability, I set a trap using the Temple Knights. Although you easily cut your way through. Anyway, that's just like Senpai. But, it was a failure that you had to show your trump card. Point 9. I'll gather more war potential for next time, face you magnificently from the front, and make a declaration of war. Then take your head. I resent you, Senpai. We had fun in jail, and I won't forget traveling together on the Holy Sword Highway. Exploring the labyrinth as well, I hadn't been that excited in a long time. That's just an indiscretion. That's all. There are grudges and there are debts. Even if I resent Hitagami-sama, I'm still in his debt. Even if there's a grudge, I return favors. It's my Jenks. From Jisoo Nakadia. I immediately rushed out of the house. Jisoo. Jisoo was an enemy the entire time. He even saw me fight using the MKI. He said he's gathering war potential. That guy, what does he mean? He said that the next time will come from the front. Believing that is difficult. I don't know. If that's true, I have to stop him. No, not stop him, I have to kill Jisoo. First of all, I have to go to the commercial district. I leapt over to the mercenary branch office. I immediately sent Orsted a summary of the letter. Jisoo is Hitagami's apostle. Then, without waiting for a reply, went to chase after Jisoo. But I have no idea where to start looking. I won't even be fucking efficient searching alone. Thinking so, I leapt to the religious headquarters, and put Jisoo on the wanted list. Furthermore, I asked to mobilize the Temple Knights to search Milishan and its periphery. That bastard is an apostle of Hitagami. Jisoo knows the future. He's a man who became an S-class adventurer with no combat capability. There's no way I can catch him. This may be referencing them being punished, but 226 isn't out, so I don't know. Potential bad.
And he escaped. We'll start off with the happy news. Holy shit. Zenith actually knows what the fuck's happening around her. It's sad that she doesn't know that fucking she's in a current state that's weird and fucked up until Lara gets of the age where she can actually understand, or they visit the fucking Mirgard race or whatever the fuck. She won't know. But it's really weird. It's just so fucking weird. It's so fucking weird. I'm glad that she knows that Paul is dead. That's actually pretty comforting. One thing that was weird. I'm gonna go back to it. Okay. It's about the dream that she had. Okay. A dream, yes, a dream. In it, she had the sensation of being carried like a stuffed toy. A stuffed toy. Yes, it was a pleasant dream. She had a dream of living comfortably in a strange house, spending time with Lilia, basking in the sun, caring for the garden. And Miko's tone changed. Paul died. Okay, so this entire thing, it's just like, it feels like a dream. Weird. Okay. Huh. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. All right. I had to reread that part. Zenith being in this state in exchange for being able to talk to Leo, it seems like a good deal. Zenith is just a pure tragedy, to be honest. Yeah, I know. It's fucking sad. Honestly, can't blame Geese for being manipulated like that because Hitogami did save his life, even if for bad intentions. It's fucking weird though. No wonder Lucy called Orsted dad because of Rudius when she learned to talk. Instead of Rudius when she first learned to talk. Orsted pampers the children when no one was. Fucking true. Hitogami has the most broken ability. Everyone trusts him. Yeah, that's fucking sad. That's fucking sad. Oh my gosh. That was great. That was a great chapter. Holy shit. That chapter had a ton of shit happen in it. Zenith knows what Orsted truly feels. Yeah. And she's also not affected by his scary curse. Geese is literally patches from every Souls game. I don't play Souls, any of the Souls games. Bruh. Oh my gosh, that shit was fucking nuts, dude. That shit was fucking nuts, dude. Holy. Holy. My goodness. Alright, how much more of this this fucking thing do we have? We have 11% of the volume left to go. Alright. When this gets animated, it will break many people's hearts. Yeah. This volume is one of the best. I agree. Rip. Oh, fuck. Camera! 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 No camera! No camera! Camera! Alright. I'm gonna try something. Here we go. I'm gonna try something to fix this camera. Give me a second. Bob. Use the integrated camera currently being covered by the bad camera, and then I will swap you with you. And then we go here, USB camera. Alright, it should be stable now. It should be a stable camera now. Alright, close that. And we good. Has an extra errors very good. Last arc is nuts. I hope so. Everything up till now is a prologue. The story begins. Bro, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't fucking say that, cause like, fuck. I guess I really can't judge till I fucking read this shit, because like there's only 3 fucking volumes left. Yeah, last arc is actually nuts. It would take years to animate, but I'm so excited. Yeah, I wouldn't look forward to it. It's gonna take a fucking while for this to get animated. Anyway, let's finish the rest of this volume, and then we can like discuss a bit more. Cameron be angry at you with 2 times. I don't know. Okay, man, I am drunk as shit, so I'll just dip here and save for later. Have fun with the rest if you do it tonight. Is Avengers Infinity War everything culminates everything culminates to this. Okay. Let's just
Chapter 12, The Traitor Escaped. Part 1. Jisunucadia. The last survivor of the race called Nuka tribe. Combat experience is weak. Has a specialty in other things. Even though he doesn't stick to using magic or sword, he has continued being an adventurer. Currently his rank is S-class. That was the man named Jisu known to Orsted. Until now, Jisu's movements never changed no matter what action I took. Therefore, I thought he was not an apostle. 1. Orsted. He came to understand how this world and people operated with his own actions. From there he somehow located apostles and the like. The history which he interferes with, the history which is not interfered with. While knowing all of it, Jisu's movement looked consistent in whichever loop he went back and forth. He lived as an adventurer and died as an adventurer. No matter what occurred around his surroundings, there weren't any odd movements at all. Orsted has a specialty in seeking out the hidden apostles of Hitagame. Just like Jisu, people not having high combat strength exists. Those who are going to keep secretly watching are among those who have heard about the fight with Dragon God from Hitagame. They don't operate publicly and move just like shadows, they help a different apostle in need when necessary. Such apostles were all but killed by Orsted. Because his loop exists, it was easier to find and kill them. But Jisu was the only distinction. It was only Jisu, there was never a point where he was particularly dubious, much less about him being Hitagame's apostle was not even suspected once. That guy couldn't take up action appropriate for an apostle of Hitagame no matter what. For example, even on the verge of getting killed, he didn't. But that guy is an apostle in all of the patterns, he kept it hidden and stuck through it. Regarding the loops until now, Jisu claiming himself as an apostle is a non-existent event. Though doubtful, there was also the thing it said about killing. But, even if he was about to die, even in the midst of getting killed, it meant that he never once opened his mouth until his final moments. And thus that the history that I was following was a delusion, that's why I couldn't win. With the exchange of only that sentence, it could be seen that Orsted was downhearted. He didn't realize the possibility of Jisu being an apostle up till now. If it's Hitagame, he might not be able to hold back his laughter. That guy, if only he hadn't noticed Jisu then. Well, it might be that he didn't consider him as an important piece at first. However, you've done well. But, we can't imagine how many of such apostles exist. At any rate, Orsted can loop in time but Hitagame can't. Even if he wants to create a similar apostle, it shouldn't go all too well. That guy is Hitagame's trump card. Next time there won't be any. Therefore, I think the possibility of Jisu being Hitagame's trump card, the final stronghold, is enough. The final apostle Hitagame was hiding. That Jisu. If it's him saying it, a poor pin won't come point to. Orsted thinks with this he has gained victory. That might be. He has
Thank you for subscribing,
this time, it will be fine to just kill Jisu the next time. If that happens,
I think a lot of there's a lot of people
I don't know
subscribing
what Jisu
from
will try
like
to do.
the meme
No matter what,
videos.
since he seems like such a chivalrous man that I am in dismay.
If you're in
I want to
chat,
win
say
this
hi.
With the anxiety in my chest I wrote the letters and sent it off. It means that that guy doesn't have any more tricks left. And such were the content of the letter received. With such a clumsy excuse I laughed a little bit. Part 2. 1 month has passed since Jisoo was detected as an apostle. I have been searching for Jisoo ever since. The chivalric orders were mobilized and the Mealy's continent was searched. Both the Mealy's church and Latria house are also actively cooperating. Although the hands of investigation are only expanding, he has probably been able to get away. Of course, it's not only just Mealy's. I immediately contacted the Dorgai tribe and asked them to put him on the wanted list in the Great Forest. I also informed Ariel to have him on the wanted list in the Azura Kingdom. I requested Roxy to circulate the demand in the Renoa Kingdom. Point 3. Although, it doesn't feel like he will be captured that easily with only that much. In the southern and northeastern part of the central continent, Begarid continent, Demon continent, Heaven continent. Many places where my hands cannot reach, the world is vast. It's also not known in which direction he escaped to. Is it the north or the west? If only I had some influence in the kingdom of the Dragon King, but if it was concluded that he escaped in the direction of the Demon continent, 4. With the death of the king, the kingdom of the Dragon King is facing various difficulties. The demon tribe is inconspicuous in the vast demon continent. If Jisoo is moving while using the teleportation magic square behind my back, the possibility that it's neither of the two also exists. Jisoo is left at large. Nothing but unpleasant premonitions. Honestly, arresting him had to happen at this timing. I considered self-defense when I realized that he can't be caught. He said this time would be fair and square in his letter. With the war potential to be able to defeat me. It's an unbelievable story. Jisoo's words are filled with lies and deception. How can I believe it? Or so I usually think, but if I try to consider it, Jisoo should have been easily able to kill me this time. Since I trusted him and also showed him my defenseless back. But that guy didn't mess around. To the bitter end he screwed me around in his trap with his ingenuity. It's true that the trap was destroyed afterwards. The fact that Jisoo could have kidnapped Aisha was also true. Since she is average in her usage of sword styles and magic, he might have determined it as impossible. Even so, he should have gotten a chance, but he didn't do it. Then isn't it fine to believe in the contents of the letter? Despite the instructions of Hitagami, it may be that it is Jisoo's way of doing things to be dignified to the last. It will be a failure if a perfect measure is not chosen when it's time to kill someone. It's a jinx. Although it lets you believe something like that, but in reality it's the opposite. While hiding in a closet in Cliff's residence with a poison knife in his hands, while I am asleep and then Shlook, such a possibility also exists. 5. It might be his goal to make me not notice something by trapping me in a maze of such thoughts. It can't be helped even if I think about it. For now, we were not attacked. It's not that Jisoo had assembled his war potential in advance. Right about now, he might be assembling the war potential capable of defeating me. That's what I would like to think, but I don't know when we will be attacked. That feeling doesn't disappear. Part 3. Scary. Now then, while I was searching for Jisoo, Aisha had steadily formed a branch of mercenary group. Selection of branch chief, recruiting group members, establishing the direction of the work. Originally it was something that couldn't be done unless I was consulted with, but Aisha did all of it herself. The thing about the Latria who are taking care of Zenith also exists, it's an overwhelming performance. Such an Aisha, she might be making a smart move considering the situation. Approximately 1 month has passed after Jisoo's disappearance. Eris came here after being dispatched by the Holy Kingdom of Mealy's. She came from the teleportation magic square to protect me. She was perfectly armed. Not in casual wear, but 2 swords attached to the body coat of the Sword King. With an appearance to be identified as a notorious swordswoman when anyone looked, with a dignified look she came over. Now that I've come, it's alright. I'll have everyone split in 2. While getting cheered up, Eris said that to me. That Jisoo is an idiot, huh? To go against Rudius. Despite saying I'm no match for Senpai, I'm no match for Senpai. All the time. While watching the cheerfully declaring Eris, my fear faded. At least, the fight will occur in a few days, I don't think I'll be killed. Or so I thought. Eris. The relieved me hugged Eris. As I was rubbing her chest, I was beaten to death. Within my fading consciousness, I understood. That this was Jisoo's strategy all along. Fin. Part 4. Setting the joke aside. I'll try to sort this out in a calm place. Firstly, from the state of affairs, Jisoo will appear from right in front after assembling his war potential if we're to believe such a case, then from now on I have 3 courses of action. Point 6. Search for Jisoo. Strengthen the magic armor, myself. Scout opposition war potential.
There's an I'm looking it up. Yeah, I know fin means end in Spanish, but I don't know why they mentioned end in there. I don't know why they mentioned end in there. It's like, it's not even the end of the chapter. Like, it's the end of the part, but why would you? You've never done that before. Is this a joke from Rudy? Okay, dude, it's a literal joke from Rudy. Great. Where the fuck? Alright.
If I try to line it up, those things have not changed for the present. Rather than focusing on the war potential 80 years later, the focus has just changed around 7 years later.
Oh.
But, Jisoo is not an ordinary guy.
See,
Even if
I
he
don't
calls it
get
fair and
fucking
square from right in front,
jokes.
it's not clear in what
Jokes,
kind
what
of
are
form it will
those?
come. Is he approaching with
Jokes, what are
numbers, no
those?
equality?
I don't understand
According
jokes.
to Worsted,
What's a
taking
joke?
off with a complete set isn't enough to defeat me. Point 7.
What is a joke,
But
guys?
I experienced the
Guys, what
violence of
is a
numbers
joke?
just the
What
other
is a
day.
joke? I don't
Temple Night
understand.
Party are able
Guys,
to fight like
guys.
that. There are several people with the talent of being a major world power class. If such a thing can be prepared, at least my victory will be simple. Just kidding. However, assembling such talented people should take time. And the amount is also not that much. 1 year, 2 years. It should be fine to look at it take around that much time at the least. But, if the assembly is finished, I think I'll be defeated. It's not like I won't be defeated by getting caught by such a trap that was prepared scrupulously taking several years. Point 8. Temple Night Party was able to do just that after all. I can't imagine Hitagama's apostles not being able to do more than that. That's why, I consider obstructing it beforehand. Go around each nation of the world to forestall the increase of their comrades. If an opponent has already turned in, it's fine to crush each one of them. In short, the business hereafter, I have to move with the possibility that everyone is an enemy. At least, the possibility of Jisoo residing in the kingdom of the Dragon King and Demon Continent is high. Particularly, the probability of the Demon Continent seems to be high. Such as Adolf, it seems like she will delightfully lend her strength when she hears about defeating me. Demon Continent was scheduled to be the last, but I must go there as soon as possible.
Yeah, she's probably
But, as
gonna
order
be
of preference
the
goes, KDK should be
person
good
that.
first. There lives God of Death Randolph who won against me wearing the
Yeah,
MK2.
she's probably
He's a
gonna
reliable
be
chess
a
piece.
person
I
to
want to control it
fight.
first.
Fucking hell.
The course of action was decided. The mercenary group is not on track yet, but I have the support of the Latria and the religious organization. While receiving work from
You
two big
might
shots,
be able
I intend not
to
keep the matter
hold
to
your
maintain
own
itself.
against her
I was able
with
to do the bare
the
minimum.
armor,
For
maybe.
once, let's return to headquarters.
I'd say you probably need
From
to
there,
refine
concerning
that
the
shit
movement
with
hereafter,
Zanaba a
move
little
closer to
bit,
Worsted once
but
again.
whatever.
But, before that I intend to go to various places and address them. Part 5. I proceeded to go towards the Latria house. While introducing Eris I announced my repatriation. Is that so? Claire's excess of manners were inadequate. Even while looking at Eris she didn't frown. She might be abiding by that thing which I said. But she had an absolutely deplorable face. Of course, about Zenith, will you be taking her back? Yes, I will carry the duty and look after her. I understand. Zenith has been looked after by the Latria for this 1 month. Since then Zenith has been looked after by the Latria house in place of the busy me and Aisha. It could be called that she missed the Latria house since she frequently moved around there. Strolling within the residence grounds, revolving around the garden. Whenever there is the case of accompanying her with the housemaid she tries to leave to walk outside. As usual, she remained in her blank state, but I understood that she was fully enjoying her hometown after such a long time. Looking at her, all the gentlemen and ladies of the Latria house made a really sorrowful looking face. Eldest son Edgar, eldest daughter Anis, because of Jisoo, I wasn't able to greet them. But, for the time being, the next time I come back I will definitely greet them and entrusted this message. Finally, I just regret not being able to see Norn's face. I'll come again and bring Norn and my children as well. There were some twists and turns, but Claire is not a bad person. She is an unpleasant person, but she is not evil. There is no problem if I just have to show her my wife's or children's faces. This time for sure I'll get it over with just greetings. No, most likely, to call it from my age, it won't be strange even if this is the last parting of this life. Last parting of this life. Her age has already crossed over 60. I don't know about this world's average lifespan, but her able body still has some ways to go. But, the round trip from Sharia range is approximately 4 years. It's not a close distance. And it's not like I would immediately return back after arriving. The next meeting might be slightly more than 10 years. Claire will be about more than 70 around that time. No matter what happens, there is nothing strange about aging. Or so you would think. It would be fine to just use the teleportation magic square, but I won't know from where the pressure gets hanged if it turns out that the teleportation magic square is used in excess by the public. Since it's a taboo in this world for once. In Azura Kingdom, in the kingdom of the Dragon King, and perhaps even in the royal family of Mealy's, it might be that they have installed it to make use of it just in case. But, it might be that the 3 large world nations are hiding them. Rudia-sama. For taking Zenith and bringing her here. I truly thank you very much. While saying that, Claire lowered her head. It seems just the other day she got on the carriage together with Zenith and went to watch something like a drama. Claire had a frown the entire time, but the maid said that she hasn't seen Okasama being this happy for the longest time. In the near future, I will come again. When I realized I had already said those words. But I'll definitely come. I said it with a strong force while packing my belly with strength. Thereupon, Claire loosened up her face with a puff. Zenith Posse's a truly good son. Claire said that in the end. Part 6. I also went to Maiko's place to greet her. I have 2 souvenirs. A bracelet that is similar to mine and a scroll to summon a magical beast that came from Orsted. This bracelet was made by a craftsman of Mealy's who was requested by Aisha within this 1 month. Normally a jewel is fixed in the pedestal, but a stone is embedded into it. The stone that I crafted with earth magic Posse's a black luster, and the crest of the dragon god is carved into it. Anyone who sees it will be understood as a subordinate of the dragon god. While holding such things, when I called out for the Maiko, her entourage came out. Within them Teresa's figure was also there. She had evaded a relegation. The petition in which my name was written seemed to be useful. Well, it was typically a demotion instead of relegation. She was not a captain anymore. Point 9. Under the captain that has been newly dispatched, she was settled down under the sub-captain position. By the way, the new captain was not a very flexible person. Bracelets aside, such a questionable thing like summoning magic being used within the religious organization was rejected as outrageous. Not to mention, such an unreasonable thing was persisted by the entourage. This is a gift towards the Maiko from Dragon God Orsted Sama's subordinate, Rudius, to defend her. How does a mere captain have the authority to deny it? Mr. Captain, at this rate you surely won't be able to have a successful career. The animal that came out of the scroll was a silver-colored owl. Probably around 1 meter long. It's small compared to Leo, but its existence is still there. With golden-colored pupils, it felt like divinity. No one came out from Perseus' spirit series. Those are ultra-rare, so they would probably not come. This time it's gonna be dedicated to Maiko, so the pack would also be different. In any case, it was nice that a sacred beast-like animal came out. It could be that Mr. Captain would have been persistent in denying it on the spot if a thing like a huge spider with a black luster had come out. I'll take care of it. Maiko's eyes were sparking while looking at the owl. When she stretched her hand to stroke it, the owl's eyes narrowed while feeling good. The animal became emotionally attached to her immediately after it had been summoned. It looks like the Maiko is very much honored with this summon. Well, please take care of it. It's not a pet. Therefore, it wants to obediently protect you. Well then, till next time. Yes, Rudia-sama too, be in good health. Finally, I also bowed to the below-mentioned Therese, Defense of the Holy Sepulchre, Anastasia Keep. I will meet both of them once again. Part 7. Finally, it's Cliff. If it's about Cliff, everything is going the favorable way for him from the start. The incident the other day made Cliff well known to both the parties of popes and cardinals. Cliff Grimoire persuaded the right hand of the dragon god, Rudius, and rescued the Maiko-sama. He talked about the justice within the quarrel between the pope and cardinal and made way for the path of righteousness. A model believer of Meles. A splendid man. How the rumors were plausibly flowing. The rumor has an interesting origin. According to what I heard, it seems like the great commander of the Temple Knight Party and the sub-captain of the Order of the Church or such spread the rumor. Therefore underling of knights and priests seem to have recognized that as a credible source, that for some reason the Pope got an amazing right-hand man. And then, driven by such rumors, Cliff seems to have taken on the work himself. Point 10.
Yeah,
A ceremonial
it's
occasion of
pretty
great
dumb,
nobility. No matter how much political strife exists, the duty of a priest doesn't change. And then,
It's so
it can be said that
stupid,
Cliff
but
also
I
gained
like it
practical
too.
experience in Sharia some way or another. Even though he is a rookie, the things that he can do are numerous. It looks like he is viewed as an exceedingly superior man of talent. Such a person like him is considered a nuisance by other people, but, well, it can't possibly be helped. Suddenly an excellent person has entered, not to mention the grandchild of the Pope. It won't be strange even if there are people burning with the flames of jealousy. Dealing with that in some way is Cliff's duty. Even so, there is no need to worry in surplus. If it's the present Cliff, that Cliff, he will display a splendid overtake even if something happens. But, there is only one concern. Then, Cliff-senpai. I'll be returning temporarily. Take care of Liz for me. Of course. I'll make sure not to flirt. It seems Cliff has not yet confided to anybody about him being married. Although he has declared her to be her partner in his mind. It's not like Cliff. However, I can understand that proclaiming that he's married to Ellen Elize is difficult. The rumor of Ellen Elize the bitch are widespread even among the adventurers at this side. Particularly, within the veterans that are now currently active, the children that were snatched away in the beginning also remain. If it is a talk about such a marriage, it should be fine to not do it yet. It will be alright to announce it when the talk behind the back grows big enough to be safe. That kind of form probably isn't poor. At any rate. It's not like he would consider hiding it until his last breath. But, from now on, it's possible that the talk about formal marriage can come up in this case. Even if it's Wendy, the maid who returns after night falls, a young man and woman under one roof is. No, it's alright. It's Cliff after all. It's not my personal matter. That person who preaches with such pride, it shouldn't be possible for him to have an affair. Right, it's not about me. If it's like this, I'll end up holding the flag and making sure of it. Really, give it your all, Cliff-senpai. Cliff-senpai as well, make sure not to flirt repeatedly. Mili-sama is watching. I can't possibly do that. I don't have time to spare for such things. Cliff has been really busy these days. Work is on track, furthermore people have started acknowledging him as the Pope's right arm. To see his worth, influential people and nobles are also approaching Cliff. Is it really? Since senpai has been popular these days. If you were to accidentally push down Wendy-chan or the like. Wendy is like a little sister to me. If it was about you, would you meddle like that? Even I don't meddle with my little sister. You're being impolite. When I made a face and became disappointed, Cliff dropped his glance with a sigh. Nevertheless, I really wanted to perform with only my own power, but I replied with a laugh. If this was not Cliff-senpai's own power, then just what was it? Haha. I intended to say it in style, but I was nose laugh. Point 11. Certainly, Cliff brought me along and he settled the problems I created for him. It feels like it took the form of a match pump. Point 12. However, taking appropriate action by himself within such a thing, Cliff was recognized for that. It's absolutely because of Cliff's strength. Regardless, I give you my thanks. I think it was because of you that I was recognized a little bit. It should be me who should say that, because of you I got acquainted with Meles. I was able to establish the way of mercenary group as well. About the marketing of Rugert's dolls, might be a little difficult for now. It seems if we proceed to make progress in marketing now, only a few people would buy it. The mercenary group is not yet stable and there are still numerous problems left, but whatever, if a problem occurs, even so it would be fine to add it to Cliff's promotion. From this point on, I'll do it alone. Right, please give it your all. The plans have changed a little bit, but I should have been able to carry out Elin Elize's promise. Cliff is already safe. I don't know in what form the other priests will come into contact. However, it will not be an exaggeration to say that the start has been decided well. This time, I'll leave it to Cliff. The fight between the Pope's faction and the Cardinal's faction still has some way to go. Within them, Cliff will try his best. I wish for him to raise results. Well, if it doesn't work out, it will be fine to make him our company employee after he returns. I want you to be at ease. In this 1 month, Forgive me for not helping you out. No, please don't mind it. My fight is my own, Cliff has his own fight. However, if Hitagama's underlings try to do something, please message me at once through the lithograph. I will immediately come running. But of course. Cliff gave a strong nod. Even if he wasn't able to assist me, he is still my comrade. But, he should not be that weak if he is going to need my protection. Well then, Cliff-senpai, be in good health. You too be in good health. Or so we say, but we might be able to meet again after about a year. I want to be able to introduce Liz almost magnificently by that time. Right, there is the matter concerning Elanali's curse. It's not like we're parting for a very long time. And then, you should be able to at least stop calling me senpai. Well, that has already become a habit, I think it's impossible to do that within my entire life. When I said that, Cliff shrugged his shoulders and wore a bitter smile. Thus, the battle in Mealy's was over. The conflict of the Latria house, the internal dispute of the mill's religious organization, and Jisu's betrayal. Various things happened, but, once again thanks to everyone, my objective has been decided. The next enemy is Jisu. Anything between are written in the communication lithograph created by Orsted. TLC.
Alright. Let's read this.
Side story, the Mad Dog and the Child of God. The same time as Rudius was saying goodbye to Cliff, two people were reuniting. The location was the church headquarters, the spring park. The beautiful garden where multicolored flowers will bloom in spring. There are a number of trees slanting diagonally because of Rudius's quagmire the other day, but their life force hasn't weakened. As proof, to replace the Serac trees, the Balta trees are letting their flowers bloom. In front of those trees, two women are facing each other. One with blonde hair, one with red. Therese and Eris. And then, behind Therese, as if hiding behind her back, the Maiko stood. While rubbing her knees together bashfully, she huddled behind Therese. In addition, men wearing some kind of blue armor are standing in the background. Come on, Maiko-sama. It's Eris-sama. Rudius made time for us to meet. Therese called out to the Maiko behind her back in a gentle voice. However, the Maiko just bashfully curled herself up. Bullet and dash, but it's that Eris-sama. For her, Eris is an object of admiration. Ever since she was aware of her surroundings, and every time something happened and she was allowed to go outside, she had to look into the dirty memories of adults. In a world with no freedom, she lived a life with no hope. When she fell into a trap while traveling and was surrounded, she thought nothing except that it was scary, that she didn't want to die. The one who appeared at that time was Eris. An air of superiority. Her movements were straightforward, yet no one could catch her, and what stuck in her memories was the afterimage of her fiery red hair. It was striking. At the time, the Maiko had no idea what had just happened. It's good that the child is safe, said Eris. The Maiko didn't realize that the said child was herself until after returning to the headquarters. That was when she realized that she had been saved. Then the Maiko remembered. When looking into the fiery-haired woman's eyes, she learned the name of her savior. Eris.
Thank
So her name
you
is Eris.
for subscribing.
While thinking that out loud, a strong admiration for Eris was born in her own memories. Since then, the Maiko would imitate her. Whenever she saw something, she would loudly declare her impressions. Whenever she decided something, she would plainly declare it in a loud voice. Whenever it was, she would use a bright and cheerful voice. She wonders how much time has passed since she started that kind of conduct. She didn't think she would ever meet Eris again. She wanted to meet her, but she never said it out loud. She understood that she didn't have that authority. However, Eris came to Milishan. When the Maiko heard that, she couldn't endure anymore. To the Cardinal, to the Pope, she desperately begged to anyone she could. Begged to meet Sword King Eris. The Mad Dog Sword King is a dangerous person, but I still want to meet her. I want to give her my thanks. That small wish was easily granted. The endeavor to let the extremely dangerous Mad Dog Sword King and the Maiko meet was allowed because Rudius guaranteed that if anything happens, I'll take responsibility for it. However, now that Eris is before her, she has no idea what to say. Thinking that it would be rude to read her memories, she didn't meet her eyes. Eris stood before the Maiko with her arms crossed. She already finished naming herself. She named herself as Rudius's wife and one of the Sword Kings. After Teresa's following introduction and thanks for their first meeting, around 5 minutes have passed. Come on, there isn't much time. Eris stood with good manners. It's rare for this girl with a quick temper, but this time she was strictly ordered by Rudius. The person you're meeting with is my savior. Please don't be rude. Well, you'll probably end up being arrogant, but just don't hit her. She will follow her instructions. But as expected, this is getting on her nerves. She hates waiting. Won't you hurry it up? Yes. At those words, the Maiko jumped with a start. The worry that she was offending Eris won out against her shyness. I'm the Maiko. Thank you so much for saving my life earlier. Earlier? I don't remember. To the Eris that declared that in a loud voice, the Maiko reflexively looked into her eyes. And then, seeing that there wasn't even the slightest trace of herself in Eris's memories, a saddened expression floated onto her face. There's no helping it. She knew it would be like this. There's no way she would remember. However, there were thoughts that it might be possible. That it might be possible for her to remain in Eris's memories, even if just slightly. That maybe she would say something like, "Oh, you're from that time? You've gotten big." Those thoughts were lingering in the depths of her heart. Since she longed for Eris so much. However, looking at her face, hearing about that time, Eris didn't remember a thing. Possibly, if she spent more time reading Eris's memories, she may find some traces in the corner of her mind. But after hearing about the past, what lurked in the corner of Eris's mind was the memory of Therese hugging Rudius as he sat in her lap and rubbing his head. The Maiko is the Maiko of memories. She is aware that memories are that kind of thing. However, that doesn't stop it from being a shock. However, you saved Rudius. I'm grateful. With her arms crossed, the tall Eris let out a delightful voice. After hearing that voice that seemed to blow away her shock, the Maiko shook her head as if to shake off her thoughts. No. It's only natural to save Eris-sama's husband. Even if the one in front of me doesn't remember me, that doesn't change my admiration or gratitude. To the Maiko who thought that, Eris hurled out words as if in pursuit. So then, tell me your name. Since Rudius says he'll be in your care from now on as well, I'll remember it for you. A name. She doesn't have a name. Until now, the Maiko didn't feel inconvenienced by that. However, now that Eris says she'll remember the Maiko's name, she doesn't have one to give. She's missing something important. She finally gained an awareness of how big a loss that was. Point 1. That is. Maiko is that thing, right? The same as Zanaba. That's not a name, is it? At the word Zanaba, the Maiko once again looked into Eris's eyes. It seems that Maikos from other countries have names. She couldn't see anything about that Maiko besides his name, since Eris didn't have much interest in him. Still, it came as quite a shock. What, you? Maiko-sama is Maiko-sama. Are you mocking her? A name is unnecessary. Where is your god? However, with the uproar in the background, she calmed down a little. It didn't inconvenience her until now, and there's nothing that could be done if she doesn't have one. It can be thought of that way. My deepest apologies. I don't have a name. HNNN. Is that so? It didn't bother Eris. The Maiko was relieved at that. This is the first time in her life that she hesitated so much to look into someone's eyes. However, I'm surprised. I heard you won't be coming to Mealy's. Since Rudius got scared again, I came over. I hurried. The teleportation magic circles should be kept a secret. Eris understood that as well. Of course, the Maiko already knew about the teleportation magic circles, and was chuckling to herself. Is that so, as expected of Eris-sama? Phew, fun, of course. Eris's mood improved, and the atmosphere of the area became gentler. Seeing that, the Maiko started thinking. I'll flatter Eris more, and improve the atmosphere even more, she thought. It's something the Maiko would normally never think. That is, I've always admired Eris-sama. Is that so? Yes, how can I become like Eris-sama? At that, Eris looked down on the Maiko. Fluffy cheeks. Plump arms and legs. An overall lacking in tightness, unhealthy body. You want to become like me? Yes. I want to become cool like Eris-sama, not just in how I talk. Too. Before anyone noticed, Eris had drawn her sword. Of all the people present, only 2 of them were able to react. The 2 who were especially gifted at swordplay among the Order of the Temple. At the same time as they noticed, those 2 despaired. Eris's sword was unsheathed. They couldn't see her sword fly at all, but they could feel the sense that something, or someone, had been cut down. Cut down. Who was? That much doesn't even need to be said. You. How dare you? What was severed was the Maiko's wrist. Or rather, a branch around half its width from the nearby Balta tree. 3. Seeing that, the temple knights returned to the background as if nothing happened. Eris picked it up and quickly pruned the hindering twigs. The Maiko looked at Eris's sword that was drawn at some point, thinking, that's a pretty good sword, huh, none of the temple knights have swords that good, and such while absent-mindedly watching Eris's movements. Before long, the twigs were all removed and the branch had become a wooden rod around 100 centimeters long. Here. And then, Eris handed it over to the Maiko. To the Maiko who looked on in puzzlement, Eris turned sideways. And then, changing her grip on her sword from one-handed to 2, she held her sword aloft. And swung it. A sound as if it were crushing evil rang as if to destroy the silence. Try it. Yes. The Maiko imitated
I
Eris
actually
and held
ran
up the
into
wooden
the
stick.
image earlier.
And then, with a small shout, she swung it down. However, it was a 100-centimeter stick. It wasn't something used for drying clothes, it was slightly heavy with a strange center of gravity, and the Maiko unsteadily stumbled a step or 2 forward. After seeing that, the background shouted, but we'll leave that aside. By like Eris-sama I meant. Lower your hips more, let out the strength in your elbows, and be more aware of how you move your back. One more time. Yes. Without really knowing what was going on, the Maiko continued to swing the stick. Each time the Maiko swung the stick, Eris gave advice. Call out each time you swing.
Boot camp with Eris.
1, 2.
Cack.
1, 2, 1,
That's
2.
pretty cack.
The temple knights didn't stop this scene. They weren't really sure what was going on, but they could tell that Eris didn't intend to harm the Maiko, and so they saw no need to stop it. There was also the fact that the Maiko looked lovely swinging the stick around. Only the captain tried to stop it and had to be held back by the other followers, but in the end it was simply the background scene. Ha. Eris-sama. Once she had repeated around 30 times, the Maiko let out a shaking voice. I can't. Feel my arms. I see. Then it's fine, you can stop now. As she was told, the Maiko lowered the stick. From her back to her wrists, her body was numbed with exhaustion. It seems like if you were to put your ear close to her muscles, you would be able to hear them creaking. The Maiko looked up at Eris with an uneasy expression. She doesn't know why she was made to swing the stick around. Eris may have simply been trying something out. She must be disappointed. She will probably scold me, saying, do you think you can become me like this? Such sad feelings welled up in the Maiko. Starting tomorrow, do that every day. Also, doing it in this garden is fine, but start running. If you don't know what to do, ask them. Eris looked straight at the Miko. As if drawn into those eyes, the Miko read Eris's memories. What could be seen there was her severe daily training in the Holy Land of the Sword. Sharpening herself through running and shouting without food or water. You can become like me. Eris stated that definitively. If Rudius was here he may have said no, that's definitely impossible. With a wry smile. However, Rudius was nowhere to be found. The Miko turned around and looked into Teresa's eyes. Her own training was etched into her memories. In the other temple knights as well, though it wasn't to the same level as Eris, there were memories of the effort they put in. You can become like her. It will probably be tough, it isn't easy for anyone. However, you can become like her. I wonder if I can do it. I think it will be fine. We can't let you use a sword or magic, but as far as training your body, everyone will teach you together. The one who answered was Therese. She looked around at the background while saying that, but quickly returned her gaze to the Miko. While looking into the Miko's eyes, she gave her honest opinion. However, please promise not to raise a hand if assassins attack, even if we were to be completely wiped out. In Teresa's memories were nobles who had challenged opponents with crude tactics and perished. This was Teresa's kindness of asking not to become like them. Yes. I swear to Mili-sama. The Miko nodded delightedly. A gentle atmosphere permeated that place. Possibly lured in by that atmosphere, the silver owl that was wandering the garden returned. It angled its head and looked up at the Miko, and cried out who? Oh. What happened? When the Miko bent down and extended her hand, the owl stuck out its forehead as if presenting the place that was itchy. The Miko stroked it with her fingernail, and the owl's fluffy feathers stood on end, and it narrowed its eyes in pleasure. Seeing that, Eris became sorely tempted. She loves the beast race. However, that isn't limited to the beast race, she loves all fluffy creatures. She has lots of opportunities to touch dogs and cats, but not birds. She can cut down a flying bird, but it's rare to get this close to such a large bird without it getting vigilant. Hey, can I touch it too? Yes. Of course. Gaining permission, Eris crouched while breathing wildly. Seeing that excitement, the silver owl winced and faltered backwards. Eris stopped her movements. I can't move too quickly here. Animals instinctively fear creatures faster and stronger than themselves. They'll be obedient if you completely dominate them, but if you want to get along with them you have to make sure you aren't scary. That's what she heard from the Rania who she completely dominated in bed. Eris slowly and carefully extended her hand, and touched the silver owl. The silver owl's plumage that seems hard from afar were very soft, and increased Eris's excitement. She wants to immediately hug it tightly and bury her face into its feathers, but she can't go that far. If she were to do that it would run away, just like Leo, Rania, and Persona. However, it's fine if she doesn't go that far. While thinking that, Eris rubbed the silver owl all over. The silver owl was frightened like an impala being tormented by a tiger, but none of the people there paid it any mind. Do you like it? Birds are good, too. After enjoying that softness for a while, Eris stood up with flushed cheeks. Fur is nice, but feathers are extraordinary, thought Eris. Suddenly, she noticed something. What's his name? Name. The Miko tilted her head at that question. Well, a name, for. When keeping an animal, it's common sense to give it a name. Is that so? Yeah, that's what Rudia said before, after all. The Miko was suddenly worried. Not only has she never named anything before, she doesn't even have one herself. She's not allowed to name herself, but it's certainly convenient to have one. A name. Seeing the deeply troubled Miko, the background began to become flustered. I'll decide it, no I will, but Miko-sama should decide it herself, and such. Eris, it's over. At that time, Rudius returned to the park. He had finished saying goodbye to Cliff, and was feeling slightly sentimental. However, there's no time to be immersed in sentimentality, a battle is coming up. I am a robot. He stiffened his face while thinking that he has to move like a sentinel. 5. Seeing the Miko in the park, he tilted his head. Is something wrong? We ended up trying to decide on a name. A name. Rudius looked around the park.
She
The troubled
completely
Miko, the
dominated
flustered
in the
followers.
bed. Wow.
The new captain who didn't seem like he could swallow the situation. Therese who was
just-
simply wearing a wry
yeah,
smile.
I know, it's
He immediately understood the situation.
pretty funny.
That's certainly troubling, he thought. I'm sure Eris had no ill intentions, he thought. How about Rudia-sama decides on a name? And then, the Miko proposed that idea. I can't decide myself, but there's no problem if Rudius does it, she thought. Is it okay if I do it? Yes, of course. Being told so, Rudius made a difficult face. He looked between Eris and the Miko. He didn't want to choose a bad name, but since it was so sudden nothing is coming to mind. Then, how about Nurse, 6. Nurse, huh? That's a good name. From today onwards, your name is now Nurse. The Miko bent down and pet the silver owl at her feet. Seeing that, Rudius shouted in a small voice. Is something wrong? No, it's nothing. Rudius turned his gaze from the Miko. He turned his face away like someone with a guilty conscience. She tilted her head at that, but the Miko was satisfied. She got to meet the Eris that she looked up to, and decided on a name for the owl. She even decided what she should be doing from tomorrow on. She thought that today was truly a good day. Eris-sama. Thank you so much. I'll come again someday. When I do, I'll come to see you again. Yes, please. Eris was also satisfied. She was satisfied just being able to touch the owl. The background was satisfied, as well. They felt a bit of dread when Eris drew her sword, but they are satisfied that the Miko looks satisfied. They are looking forward to teaching her in detail on how to train her body from tomorrow on. All of them are. Only Rudius was turning away with a face that says oh, shit. Only Therese noticed that facial expression of Rudius. She noticed exactly who he was trying to name. However, she didn't say it out loud. She just smiled wryly. The Silver Owl nurse looked at that Miko with its head tilted. Thus, Eris was able to gain another disciple. From the next day the Miko became more and more slim, and the temple knights treated her more and more like an idol, but that's a story for another time. I took a lot of liberties here, but I couldn't think of a way to word it in English without it sounding bland. Not
All right. That is it for today's reading. We finished volume 21. Good chapter overall. Good chapter overall. I thought it was really, really good. Really good. I've heard you love Aisha. I do love Aisha, dude. Aisha, oh my gosh, best girl, 100%. Great volume, yeah, I agree. Too bad we couldn't see Sylphie, but at least we got Aisha. Who's best girl? Aisha, obviously. So, yeah. Don't go that far? Okay. Yeah. Shit, I forgot to put these in the freezer. Let's talk about the volume. Give me a sec. I need to put these egg sandwiches that I took out in the freezer. Give me a sec. I'd probably make a chicken pot pie as well. I'm fucking hungry. Analysis video on your waifu Aisha. Nah, that'll take too much time. I can't really do it with. I tried doing it with Norn, couldn't really do it. Aisha already has a video. I already expressed my passion for liking Aisha as a character. Sag, yeah, no, I know, big Sag. Yeah. So, man, this volume was fucking insane. So, I don't think so. More likely than not, when the next volume probably has something to do with geese, probably, I imagine so. Just a thing of the whole story in general. Many highlights. The fight was good, but the POV of Claire and Zenith, then the letter from Geese. Okay. I still think the POV of Claire wasn't too fantastic. It wasn't great. I think the way everyone reacted to it afterwards, like Rudy is still not being disgusted by Claire's like actions is still fucking weird. Like how she was like completely forgiven afterwards. It's like, okay, dude. They have nothing to do. Wait, hold up. Turning points aren't what most people think. They have nothing to do with Rudy himself. What do you mean? Was there a turning point later or some shit? Like, let me look. Is there a turning point? Wait, was that? Was that a turning point? I don't know. I don't think there was a turning point this volume. I agree. Claire POV will probably be improved in the web light novel. Yeah, probably. I don't see it like, yeah, it was really bad. I don't think it was translated well or it was written that well. Hopefully the translators for the light novel make it somewhat better, but yeah, it wasn't that great. That was definitely like a low point for the volume to me. Like, you can make it good, but you have to make her like, you can make that POV like good, but you have to make her like less of a bitch and be able to forgive her more for what she said. Because she was like to an extreme. She was extremely bad before. But even in concept, just having her having Zenith constantly get fucked in order to fix her coma is just like, that's still fucking messed up. So I still don't see the light novel really fixing that aspect. The last one has a turning point 5. Really, the last one? Let me check. Volume 24, Volume 25. Is Volume 26 the last one? I don't fucking know. Light novel's translation is way better than the web novel translations, especially these later volumes. Web novel translation fell off a lot. Okay. The last one has a turning point 5. Yeah. Oh. 23 of the web novel. Okay. Okay. So we still have two volumes to go till we see the next turning point. I don't know how they're gonna do a turning point exactly, but whatever. But yeah, I thought that Claire's I thought that Claire's like introduction in this volume was, well, it wasn't an introduction. We did see her in like Norn's flashback and shit, but like to me this was basically her introduction, her becoming one of the major characters. Her introduction in this volume was like, I was hyped about it, but I don't see like she didn't live up to expectations, honestly. Like she was really good in the beginning. I just wish she stayed a bitch till the end, honestly. I wish that she just like stayed that way constantly. Don't sympathize with her. Just have Zenith sympathize for the bitch because she's her mother. And then I have like, all right, I can understand where you're coming from, Zenith, but she's still fucking weird. Like, you don't have to make every single fucking character, like every single good character, or like every single like family member, like good and wholesome. You don't have to do that shit. Like having like a cranky old grandma who views women as objects is like, you know, it may be harsh, but it's fucking interesting. I feel like doing that would be better in my opinion. It really serves no relevance to the story at all. It was just to make her nice in the end and just have a feel good ending. It's just okay, but like I find it way better and way less not confusing, but way less stupid. And way less I just find it way like way more understandable if she stayed as a bitch, viewing Zenith as just an object, and viewing that as how Zenith could fulfill her life for the rest of her life instead of just being in a coma state for the rest of her life, having more kids and shit. But like having that be like her main drive would be, honestly, in my opinion, way more interesting than whatever the fuck we had, where it's just a confusing mess of her trying to cure her because Eleanor Lise was a slut. I mean, I don't know. Okay. A chapter is called Turning Point, depending on how it affects the fight between Orsted and Hitogami. The effect on Rudy is cholesterol. Okay. Uh, I'll be off now. It's 3:21 a.m. Good night. Good night. Uh, she is a lot better in redundancy. No, she isn't. Same. Um, Talking yourself there. Um, Little spoilers and hypes we give changes the experience. Yeah. Medieval story grape is daily occurrence. Okay. The one of the issues I had with Geese's plot twist was I was kind of already suspecting it. Like, even without your I guess chat did ruin it last stream. I think I would have like had a better like reaction to his reveal. But like it's like what I find interesting is how they turned Geese's fucking betrayal into sort of like an angry sort of tone, an angry tone into like somewhat of like it was like an angry tone, but they understand it's kind of a tragedy because of how crazily powerful Hitogami is and how much influence he has over others. It's very interesting how even Geese was like, how could you betray Hitogami and all that shit? But even then, even though you have Rudy, who understands everything that would have happened to him if he kept following Hitogami's orders, even after all of that, you'd still understand that Geese would probably still follow Hitogami just because of the way he lives life and how he benefited from Hitogami and how he has to repay him now. Because he said that in the letter, how it's sort of like a jinx sort of deal. He has to help them in return. So it's very, I don't know. I really liked that. It was a really good. That letter was really well written, in my opinion. I don't know how Geese is like an all-powerful apostle. I don't know how that happens. But yeah. And I don't know how Orsted knows that he was an apostle in previous loops. I don't know how that works, but sure. Yeah, that letter was really well written. I really come to despise Hitogami even more for making Geese the way he is now. I like that Rudy treats taking life seriously as becoming a better family man. This world treats it as killing your opponents. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty... Yeah, taking life seriously is becoming a better family man. Also just like protecting his family as well by any means possible. It's like by any means, like he was willing to kill Orsted to like protect his family. But even after that, like even like after losing Orsted, he was like, you could kill me, that's fine, just please don't hurt my family. Like he's willing to like just do anything to make his family's life better, and that's like really admirable. Like he's really grown as a character ever since he got like married. It's really fucking interesting. like how Rudy 6 years ago was, I don't want to be involved in politics, and now is one of the most political figures in the world. That's just because of that's just a result of him just doing whatever the fuck with his natural, with his talents and stuff. Whenever he tries to like intervene with shit, and he just so happens to be friends with powerful people, whenever he gets into conflicts, it tends to affect his family in some way. So as a result, he gets involved with politics. Unfortunate, but whatever. Yeah. And we see we see how Oldius, like when he was going through like his whole thing, we saw like if he didn't care for politics and the state of the world, and just didn't really care about others and only cared about himself and revenge, we see how that tends to just corrupt him in like the weirdest fucking ways. People keep commenting, Rudy, if you were serious, you would have killed them all. I don't get that comment. It's friend with Ariel, the Pope, several Mikos, what's to come. He's also friends with Orsted, so yeah, so let me go back to the summary of all these previous chapters. I need to look at this. Okay. So Rudy's encounter with Geese in that when he was like threatening him and shit, like with the suspicion that he was Hitogami's apostle, like that makes like, looking back on it, it's so fucking, that scene's so fucking powerful. Like with all the context we have now, that scene is like really fucking crazy. It's like a what if scenario. What if he told him what Hitogami did to him? What if Rudy told Geese what Hitogami was going to do to him, what he threatened to do, and all that shit? What if Rudy just pulled the trigger then and there? Would he have ever known that Geese was an apostle? Probably, because Hitogami would probably go into Rudius's dreams and just be like, bro, what the fuck? You killed my trump card on a fucking whim. What the fuck? So, yeah, that'd probably be a fucking interesting thing. The entire scene is just like a what if scenario. So many what if scenarios can pop up from that, and it's really fucking crazy. Like the weight of that scene has so much more weight looking back on it now. Rudy just like not even giving a fuck about like all the politics involved, just trying to find Zenith and shit. Just willing to bulldoze fucking everyone with his fucking Gundam armor. Bro, that was fucking nuts. Hitogami can't talk to Rudy. Oh, with the bracelet on. True. Yeah. I wonder what would happen if Rudy just took the bracelet off just for a second. Just for like a night. I wonder what would happen. Hitogami can't talk. Okay, that's the bracelet anymore. Okay. Yeah. For my house, for my daughter. Yeah, I already talked about Claire. Let me go back to the previous volume because I thought the first half of this volume was kind of meh until we got to like until we got to like, I think until we reached like that geese bar scene, I don't think, and the scene with Claire in the beginning was all right, but until we saw like a switch flip in fucking Rudius's head, I think then the volume just started becoming great. Oh, wanna know? Hidegami would discover every secret Rudy knows. Geese knew Paul was going to die and didn't say a word. Fucking yikes. Yeah, that kind of sucks, but yeah. Yeah, looking back, yeah, I was right in suspecting him. He had a lot of convenient timing. Maybe he made things go in a way where a worse result happened for Rudius, or a good result. Actually, more likely a good result in the beginning. Just to earn Rudius's trust. So that way, in the end, the rat could fuck him over. Temple Knight. Okay, things will be... next thumb, put Rudy searching for a monkey. No, I think I'll think of something better. I'm probably not gonna do a stream tomorrow. Mainly because a bunch of coworkers are like planning on going like skating tomorrow, and I'm probably gonna go with them. It's gonna be fun. I need to talk to people after work. I've been spending all this time after work with y'all, so it's probably not a good decision to spend every single day on stream, but I could probably do it more often than not on weekends. But I felt like weekends I was going to work on videos, and maybe a few weekdays instead of streaming I'd work on videos, but I want to finish this series as soon as possible. So, yeah. And what do we have? Like 3 volumes left? We have like 3 volumes left. Last one is there will be a volume of prep time and then the final. Last volume, it's too much of a spoiler. I'm not gonna say it. By the way, I read the other 2 chapters of the fanfic. Big mistake. I love how Rudy's describing the Temple Knights like NPC tropes. I don't know, they all dress alike and having the same cliche names like Death and Smoke and Dust. Yeah. That was pretty fucking funny, but I don't know. The comedy hasn't been landing with me as of late. I don't know. It might just be me. Do some light novel reviews. There are like 1 review and nothing after 12. I see Chibi reviews. He did a fucking volume 1 review, but like I might do that. I might write a fucking review for I don't feel like doing a review for freaking what, the web novel stuff. I don't feel like that would do it justice. I feel like doing a review on the light novels is probably the best course of action, because like with that, it's an official release. It's an official translation. The writing's actually decent. You don't have to worry about mistranslations and all that shit. There's a ton of misunderstood jokes in like the web novel. It's a bit scuffed. And you also take illustrations into account. It's basically the way that the story is meant to be told. So with that, I'd probably say I should probably just go with the light novels. If I'm ever going to review this series, I'd definitely go with the light novels, or just have an overarching review of the series as a whole. That way I don't have to worry about mistranslations and all that stuff, because they're really fine details that you really only consider when talking about a specific volume or specific chapter. Because, for example, one volume I really want to review is volume 11. I really like that volume. Volume 12 is also really good, but I feel like a lot of people have probably talked about that. Volume 14 is really fucking good too. Volume 13, I can have some stuff to say, but I probably have to reread it in all honesty, because not much fucking happens there. Like, and I feel like that would make for an interesting review, just like reviewing one of the low points of Mushoku Tensei, Volume 13, and just be like, it was alright, it wasn't great. And just like being able to criticize Mushoku Tensei for its faults, because this is definitely not a perfect series. Like, for right now, like, there are some comedic bits that just don't land, and maybe that's because of the fucking translation. Probably is because of the translation, because I've laughed a ton of times during the college arc, but yeah. The trio happened. The trio. I don't fucking know. Let me look back. At volume 13. What would be like light novels that I actually review in like video format? I haven't read volume 1 through 6. I've read volume 7. I've read volume 8. It's been a long time though. I'd probably have to, like, if I'm gonna review one of these books, I'd probably have to reread it and then review it, or like gloss read over it. 4 volumes and 4 side stories. Roxy Gets Serious, Redundancy, Jobless Oblige, and Old Dragon's Tale. Next gen story will be out of time by the time you read those. Would be out by the time you read those. Would they? It's not announced, right? Like, a sequel is not announced, probably. I doubt it. I fucking doubt it. I assume you're referring to a sequel. I doubt a sequel is gonna fucking happen with it not being announced and shit. Maybe with the anime's popularity, but pretend the manga doesn't exist. Yeah, we pretend the manga doesn't exist here. That's fine. Don't worry. I already mentioned the manga in my volume 7 review, of it being like really slow and adapting shit. In all honesty, you can read the manga, it's fine. It's not great. You're missing out on a really great story. But I read the manga adapting all the way up to volume 9, and I still enjoyed up to volume 9. I still enjoyed it. So even if you do read the manga, you can still read the light novels and enjoy yourself. I didn't read Jobless Oblige. Didn't. I make it till chapter 9, but can't read more. Didn't like the humor. Okay. Yeah. I'm scared for Mushoku Tensei's future, because this could, well, like, y'all say that the following volumes are really fucking good. So I hope so, but when we get into slice of life shit, the comedy hasn't been landing as of late. So I'm scared. I'm scared about that. I'm really scared about that. I don't want to see that happen. Yeah. I don't want to see that happen in this. Ends on 13 on Java. Okay. I would take I would take months to the new gen volumes to be translated. Oh. Okay. My headphones just ran out of battery, by the way, but I could still talk. Yeah, I can't like. Can't really with this shit. There's almost no slice of life until the end. That's good. That's good. And I assume the end of slice of life stuff is pretty decent. So that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good to hear. I wonder if we'll see Perugius again. I mean, it sounds like we're probably gonna see a Toph again because she's probably gonna be like one of Geese's helpers trying to go against because I assume Geese can probably reach out to her because she's a demon, because he's a demon as well, and like Hitogami can probably give him some advice to get a Toph on his side. Redundancy it's pure slice of life, but that one is great since most of the chapters aren't Rudy's POV, but everyone else. Tier list, where does Claire go? D tier. D tier, probably around there. Yeah, I can't really say this volume wasn't the greatest. I still think volume 11 is better, in my opinion. Volume 11 is better. Volume 12 is better. Volume 14 and 15 are better, but this is definitely one of the best since volume 15, in my opinion. In my opinion, this is definitely the best since volume 15. And I think everyone agrees with that, but I don't think everyone agrees with volume 11 being better, in my opinion. I don't think so. I still think volume 11 is really fucking good. Really well quality fucking writing. And you get like action scenes in the end to balance it out a bit. 11 was hosted though? What do you mean? Wait, has he read the letter? Yeah, I have read the letter. 11 was goated though. Yeah, I know 11 was goated. But I have a feeling that it's a pretty based opinion because nothing of no, Turning Point 3 happens in it. But I love it for different reasons. It's a perfect like blending. So like you have in the beginning you have all the shit with like Norn and like trying to improve and Rudy trying to improve his relationship with his sisters, which is actually really fucking well written. Surprisingly well written. And then in the middle you have Turning Point 3, which then leads into Rudy with Elnalise going out and to the Bagarit Kingdom, whatever. Not to mention the twist with Nanahoshi being able to like tell Rudy, hey, teleport there and all that shit. Did you read 21 and or 22 as well? I finished 21. 11 does have one plot hole though that I can't wrap my head around. What is that? What is that plot hole? Anyway, I still think volume 11 is really fucking well written. And yeah, I'm gonna try to connect my headphones right now, so let me do this real quick. Yeah, the volume 11 is one of the best, I'd say. Uh, let me go make a tier list right now of what I actually think of this series as a whole right now, because I feel like that's probably like the best way to sum up my opinion in like a visual way. So like, yeah, I'd definitely say volume 11 is still up there. I don't think volume 21 is at the same level as volume 15 and 14 and 11 and 12. That I don't think they're on the same tier. Where Hitogami contacted Rudy when he was still awake, while any other times he will make contact when he's asleep or unconscious. I thought he was asleep. Was he not asleep? I thought he passed out on like his chair or some shit. I don't know. I thought he like passed out like from tiredness or some shit. I thought he went to sleep. I don't fucking know. Anyway. Tier list maker. Yeah. Fucking weird. Right. Mushoku Tensei novels. That's those are characters. That's the translated one. Those are the translated ones. All Mushoku Tensei waifus. All right. I found it. Here we go. I'm gonna center this, actually. Give me a second. Alright. So, volume 1. Show it on screen as well. Yeah, I am. Volume 1. This is my anime perspective. This is before he goes with Rock, before he goes to Eris and all that shit. It's his please don't take this as like an actual opinion on volume 1 of Mushoku Tensei. This is just my thoughts on this part of the anime. That was like in this volume when Rudy didn't notice and living in Latria house. He simply spaced out and goes to bed. That's light novel original. Okay. Anyway. So right here, I'd say this is a very good introduction to the series. Rudy is a bit perverted in the beginning, almost to the point where he's unlikable, but it's still, the establishment of this world is really fucking good. The entire situation with Zenith, how with Zenith and Paul, that whole affair, the introduction of Roxy. I didn't think Roxy was a great character then, but her interactions with Rudius was still wholesome. Sylphie becoming a friend was really good, really interesting. Paul cheats, great chapter. Yeah, I'd say it's an A tier. I'd say it's an A tier. This is a slow point. If this includes, let me check if this includes turning point 1. Does this include Paul cheats, great chapter. I mean, it is light novel original and the anime follows the light novel. Okay. The scene where Where Roxy helps Rudius is so wholesome. Yes, it does. IMO 2 includes Turning Point 1. No, it's buffering. Uh, I've read Overlord for now. See. Alright. Alright. So this is probably B tier. I still think Turning Point 1, you don't really feel it till much later. What happens in Volume 3? Introduction of Rudyard. Alright, so this is like introducing like Rudyard's like entire like problem, I guess. I think this one's probably like B tier as well. I feel like it's really like good, but not great. I don't think it's that great. Beginning of our journey, failure, chaos, and resolve. Oh wait, no. This is A tier. The fucking end of the first core was really fucking good. I really enjoyed that shit. Hinagami's first appearance. I know one, it has two POVs that doesn't show in the anime. Okay. I'm pretty sure one of them's yeah, I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, I Hinagami's first appearance. So yeah, I think volume 3 is great. The ending of the first core was a really great way to end it off. But this is including Rudyard's telling of Rudyard's backstory, his whole thing. Rudius almost snapping, trying to protect Eris. We're seeing hints of Rudius becoming like a family man in that situation, protecting his family at whatever cost. At this point, Eris is family, but in a different way. Cousin sort of deal. Basically like a sister, but you know. I don't think he really considers her as like a potential love interest, like seriously, like at that point. Probably just as like a friend, honestly. I shouldn't say sister, probably just as a friend, a really dear friend. But like, yeah, I really think like him wanting to protect people as much as possible and like almost willing to destroy the fucking city in order to protect his party from that horse bitch is pretty fucking cool. I really like that. This is like when he got the eye. This was I need to look at this one again. There's probably some stuff that's missing that I haven't seen. The beast folk arc. I did not give a shit about this. Doldia Village is fucking boring. I cannot stand this fucking place. Yeah. C tier, I'm sticking to it. Actually, fuck it, I'll put it D tier. This is just the anime, folks. If there's something missing, if there's something in the light novels I missed, I don't give a shit. Not now, at least. What do you think of Hitogami before his reveal? I thought the guy was pretty cool up until Turning Point 2. After that, he was a sussy baka. Yeah. Yeah, basically. But he wasn't too interesting until Turning Point 2 revealed like his feud with Orsted. Like his like it wasn't revealed, but like really showed like how much animosity there is. Like Orsted would kill a kid without hesitation and shit. That was like pretty fucking. 5 is a low S. If it has what I think it is, it's high A. Paul's story, reunited, Eris the Goblin Slayer, Roxy's homecoming. Okay, never mind. It's an S. It has Roxy's homecoming. Shit, that shit's an S. That shit's an S. Yeah, that shit's an S. These are all the high points in the fucking this volume has most of the high points in the fucking anime. It's a really fucking good. That shit has to be a good fucking volume. You are missing the intro of the 7 great powers is one of the 7 great powers Stella, so minimum C tier. I'm talking about my enjoyment of the anime. And in my enjoyment of the anime, I'd say that's a D tier. It was pretty fucking mid in anime standards. Bad in Mushoku Tensei standards. Volume 6. This was the departure, them separating. This was Turning Point 2 as well. I like this a decent bit. Rice. The Third Prince. Saving Aisha. I'd say that's B. It's not great. It's not bad. It's alright. Turning Point 2 really lifts it up. But in terms of consistency, it's not the same. In terms of consistently writing something good, it's not the same. Actually, wait, no. Introduction of Zanaba, A tier. We'll put it as A tier. We'll put it as A tier. Zanaba's a delight. Volume 7. Looking back on it is a really good standalone story, but is it on the same level of these 3? Yeah. It's definitely not on S tier. Is it in the same level of these 3? Probably not. I'd probably say it's high B. It's high B. It's a really good. If you want to have a good if you wanted to like jump into the middle of the series and just have like a good feel for what Mushoku Tensei is like, Volume 7 is pretty good, just introducing you to the fucking story, because it's a really good standalone volume, and I think it's a really good introduction if you don't start at Volume 1. I highly recommend starting at Volume 1 or starting with the anime. But if you want to jump into the middle and want to get to the really good shit, then fine. Do Volume 7. It's great. I wish Volume 7 was a standalone movie. We don't know that yet. Well, actually, no, we kind of do. It's Season 2 was announced, not the movie. Okay. Yeah. 7 was very good to show a powerful and broken MC. Yeah, it was like... It's really good. I really liked it. Volume 7 is too good to be a movie. That's bullshit. If it's too good, what's too good to be a movie? It's too good to be in the season. That shit should be in a movie. That shit's really fucking good. Really good structure for a movie too. I feel like that Volume 7 would be a really good format for a movie. And then leading into Volume 8, it heavily leans on comedy. I didn't like it too much. It was good. People underappreciate You'll see what I mean. People underappreciate this point in the story. But it doesn't. But it heavily. It's build up. It's really hard build up between Sylphie and Rudy's relationship. Also, it doesn't have Aisha. Has Rudy Beating body. That's a high point, but it's. The manga doesn't exist, so never was skipped. Uh, Volume 9. I feel like Volume 9 is really fucking good. Fuck. Wait a sec. No, I'm switching these two. Volume 9 was really fucking great, turning a whole perspective, turning the tide of adding another layer to Turning Point 2, having Nanahoshi like be introduced, the proposal, the entire thing with Sylphie and Rudy, that entire culmination at the end. It was build up, but boy did it fucking pay off. Holy shit. The manga is terrible, so it doesn't matter what the manga did. The wedding, yeah. My bad, forgot the time loop we're in. 9 is a high B. Half was mid, but the reunion is great. Half is mid, but that fucking ending, holy shit. I could say the same for Volume 6. Half of it's mid, but as soon as Turning Point 2 happens, the story becomes great. I just have preferences. Wait, fuck, I'm an Aisha simp. Never mind, they're both in the same tier. I'm an Aisha simp. They're both in the same tier. I'm an Aisha simp. Him saying Aisha, bro, that shit, yeah. Oh no, wedding is on volume 10. Yeah, I know wedding's on volume 10. The wedding portion, I'd say mid B. It was good. It was a good slice of life. It was better than volume 8. It was better than volume 8. The cave is on 9. I know the cave's on 9. Did you finish 21? You just did. Hey, did you watch Orsted versus Orsted fan animation? I did. It was cool. Alright. And then going from I'll make this low B. I'm gonna make this a low B. Nothing much really happened in that. This volume, Norn's fucking story added a whole nother layer to fucking volume 5's Paul story. Fucking is so well paced, holy shit. The entire building up the relationship with Rudy, Norn, and Aisha, culminating to a point in Turning Point 3 that happens in the middle of the fucking volume. This volume isn't even as long as volume 9. The shit fucking slaps. The relationship with Rudy and his sisters building up all the way to Turning Point 3, where he is convinced to go after Zenith because, and turning down, like, and potentially risking everything that he has, missing the birth of his child and shit, just to potentially help Zenith, is like crazy. It's crazy fucking good. And he was willing to commit, like, going to be gone for like a year plus. More than a year. A long ass fucking time. Just because Norn convinced him. I hope the sequence in cave is simplified in the anime. Like, we don't need it till that. Slice of life was good. They could do that in the library and notice. Okay, okay, you're still talking about Volume 9. The and then like the journey from the journey to the teleportation circle all the way to the all the way to that fucking the Barga continent or whatever the fuck through there through the desert. I thought that was really fun. I thought that was a really fucking funny and adventurous sort of deal. It was the first time I did it. It's the first time I read an adventure like that in Mushoku Tensei. You probably got that in volume 3, volume 4 maybe. You probably got that, but I missed out on it. And for the first time, that was a really good change of pace, going from volume 8, 9, 10, just being in the same location for so long, finally breaking out at the end of volume 11 was really fucking nice to see. Yes, MVP writing letter to save Zenith. Yeah, but Hitogami would have said that they would have been fine without Rudy. For you, Roxy fans, Geese sending that letter is a fucking great thing for y'all. Great thing. And then I don't think I need to say much about this one. I think this one is an S tier. It's better than volume 11. It's better than that. This one's fucking I'm mixed here. It's really wholesome. I'd say C tier. Just for the wholesomeness, it's fucking it brings it up a tier. It's really fucking nice to see. Nice to see everything culminate after all that. I felt like they could have dragged on the morning for a little bit, but they did it really well in volume 12, so I'm not complaining. Rudy went through an entire arc and fucking that volume 12 is an entire arc in of itself. Pacing's really fucking well done in that shit. This one. Fucking hell, and yeah. Yeah. I've said what I thought about those two volumes for a while now. Nanohoshi's chapter is really fucking great. Really fucking great. I really like Nanohoshi's chapter in volume 14. You can't fucking I hate I hate how big the S tier is. That it's don't worry, there's not going to be another S tier for the rest of this. Erison 15 S tier. Yeah, it's really fucking good. I really fucking liked it. And then at the twist at the end with Rudy joining Orsted's side at the end, holy shit. That was fucking goated. I fucking love that shit. I fucking love that shit. Holy fuck. I need to check this again. I need to check this shit again. Yeah, we start with the diary chapters. Fuck. Nanohoshi's hypothesis. Resolve. Fuck. Quagmire versus Dragon God. Eris Greyrat. Fuck. The Suns. Fuck. Oh my gosh, this shit was fucking great. Oh yeah, no volume comes to S tier after this. Maybe the second to last, so it can make it a low S tier. Yes, peak. This thing was fucking peak. This is why I love Mushoku Tensei. Um, eh. I'm gonna like this was alright. It wasn't great. I didn't really like it too much. The many people think like his interactions with Orsted brought this volume up a bit. I didn't really think so. Yeah, sure the time loops is like a thing or like not the time loops. I think he revealed that later. But like his conversations with Orsted weren't that compelling in my opinion. Not enough to bring up the volume a tier. I think it's slightly better than this because like there's more stuff that happens in volume 16 but not much. You're comparing like fucking rocks to pebbles here. It's still a fucking stone. It's not, it doesn't have much substance to it. uh it's sturdy, it's consistent, but it's not great. It's a fucking rock. uh The light novel has a labyrinth library to find an answer to previous. Uh, yeah, I'm not. I don't care much about Ariel's arc. So volume 16 and 17 aren't that great in my opinion. I don't know. Anyway, this one's really low A. Like, I can't. I really feel like this is like controversial, but like I don't really like the politics in Mushoku Tensei all that much. I can't get behind politics. Like I just wish for like this feud between Orsted and Hitogami be turned up dialed up to 11 where there's a long-lasting apostle that fucks him over. It looks like we're getting that in Geese, but with Geese, but right now it's like but that at that point it wasn't that great. It wasn't that great at all. Better than volume 7? Yeah, it's not better than volume 7. It really isn't. It really isn't. Yeah, you're right. It's not. The action scenes are great, but before that, uh, yeah. Let me look back at the chapters here. So volume 16 had before traveling to Azure Kingdom. So right before traveling to Azure Kingdom. So I stand firm in that placement then. Uh, turn versus determination. Oh yeah, Luke's perspective. I still think it's a B tier. I think Sarah's was done better. I think Sarah's was done better. Um, yeah, and then I'm gonna put this one higher because I thought the comedy fucking landed on Aisha's chapter a lot. But it's really similar to these four where like nothing really nothing of substance really happened to the story too much. Let me check again. Let me check the chapters again. Maybe some screenshots will help me. Beautiful. Yeah, it's really just heavily leaning on comedy, but sometimes those landed, and that's better than fucking these two. So, yeah, I'd definitely say C. Do you use Beast Girls in the harem S tier? No, they're not in the harem. Don't even fucking lie. Zanoba. Zanoba's story was good. Zanoba's story was good. I'd say it's better than Volume 17, but probably not better than Probably not better than Volume 7. I think Volume 7 is really fucking good, really solid, really solid. And I don't think, like, there were some low points in Volume 19 that I didn't really like. I think that brings it up to a C. Fuck the buffer. It buffered again. Sorry, whatever. I'm gonna have to deal with it here. Rudy committing war crimes. Yeah. Anyway, volume 20. Volume 20. The Zanaba store. Cliff's return home. Meeting with the Pope. And okay, so the end really carried this fucking volume. I'm gonna have to say highest C I could possibly give it. And this one, I'd say it's higher than Turning Point 2, but not by much. And yeah. Added so much to Zanaba. Yeah, I guess. Actually, I liked Zanaba's character a lot more after this. I'd say low A. We'll go with that. I think I'm pretty content with this tier listing. I'm pretty content. This is it. This is the tier list. Hope you enjoy this tier list. Hope you fucking enjoy it. It's right here. It's all you're gonna get. It's all you're gonna get from me. Yeah. 22 is build up and 23 is payoff. Won't the hate we all felt for Jerry equal higher rating? For Claire equal higher rating. Chair. Why did I call Claire the chair? It's warrant a higher rating? Yeah. Because I was so fucking bored during this, it'd be a D, but Claire's shit brought it up to a C. What about Aisha raising a treant? Which volume was that again? And geese. 13. Alright. The tier list is now over, fellas. The tier list is now over. I'm content with this tier list. This tier list is great. There is nothing wrong with this tier list. It is the best tier list of all time. This opinion is valid. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with this tier list at all. Don't you fucking dare say that this opinion is invalid. If you disagree with this, your opinion is invalid. That's all I have to say. Don't remember volume, just you promising the shimp for Aisha. When did I say that? I've always been an Aisha simp. Anyway. Aisha's like the best character in the series. What do you fucking mean? Auntie Aisha? Yeah, Auntie Aisha. So yeah. Yeah, and that's the tier list so far. I really think, like, going into the late game for Mushoku Tensei, like, ever since, like, Turning Point 4, it's gone pretty fucking downhill. Like, we had like a string of really fucking good volumes and right up until the peak with Orsted versus Rudius, but then it kind of fell off because like none of these apostles really had weight to them, and you've had to like Hey, bye. None of these apostles really have had weight to them, and you have to kind of log through the story a bit for the story to get interesting in every single volume. Buffering, I can't do anything. Like, I can't do anything about the buffering because, like, the Ethernet, I don't have an Ethernet connection. I wish I did, but this campus doesn't have working Ethernet ports. Unlike at home or anything. Like, this is like the first time I'm like doing it over Wi-Fi, and I fucking hate it. I know when it breaks up and buffers and shit, but anyway, I don't really like how this has gotten to the point. Oh, at which point do you think season 2 is going to end? I don't think they'll be able to cover volume 12 since they'll have to animate the Misfits chapters from Sylphie's POV. That might make an episode or two. I feel like season 2 is going to end with volume 12, and they will make the season 2 a bit longer than usual. I think that's how it's going to go. I feel like it's going to be like 27 episodes instead of last season where it was 23. I feel like it could potentially go 27. It could potentially go 27 episodes with how packed volume 12 is. I hope they don't skip too much. I don't feel like they will. Oh, I have bad news. Oh no. Oh no, what is the bad news? That you're still here? Oh fuck, dude. That you're not able to go to sleep? Bro, that's bad news, dude. The budget for season 2 was severely reduced. Mushoku Tensei season 2 budget. Yeah, it's a fucking lie. Um, that's not a fucking true thing. Yeah, that's not a fucking thing. Season 2 finished with Rudy walking out the cemetery talking about living without regrets. Prepare to ugly cry. I understand. Prepare to ugly cry indeed. It's gonna be sad. It's gonna be really sad. We're all gonna cry, and it's gonna be oh boo-hoo. If they're gonna make a movie, I fear how long the adaptations will take. How many episodes do you want Volume 7 to be? Volume 7, I feel like, needs a good solid 4 episodes. A solid 4 episodes, similar to the length that Volume 1 was. I want at least 4. I think 4 is a decent amount. I feel like 4 is a good enough amount. I feel like 4 is a good enough amount. I feel like Volume 8 you can get by with 3. I feel like Volume 9, I feel like 4 is the best for Volume 9. I think Volume 10 you can get by with 3. I think Volume 11 you need at least 5. Volume 12 you need at least 5. So what is that? 13 and so 24 episodes. I think 24 episodes, yeah. You can do season 2 in 24 episodes. I feel like that's a decent amount. I feel like you can get by with that. Yeah. Yeah. You can get by with that. So anyway, so I did some experimenting on like one of my streams where I actually played like a ton of music while playing video games and stuff, and I was hoping that the audio of the video game would like cover a bit of the song. Yeah, I was copyright claimed for every single one of those, thankfully not striked. So yeah. I guess I'm gonna stick with Persona and copyright free music now. I want at least 4. Now, what about Sylphie's backstory? Maybe add an episode or 2 for that, so maybe 26. But that's still like 13 episodes a quarter. That's fine. You could do that. They'll do volume 7 and 3 episodes. Hey, wanna know who Aisha and Norn end up marrying? No. No, don't spoil that. They'll do volume 7 and 3 episodes. You wanna get right to the school stuff, even though I prefer the adventure stuff. I think they'll understand that this adventure stuff is better. At least this compared to the stuff in volume 8. I think they'll understand that, and it'll give volume 7 as much time as needed. And I don't feel like they want to skip anything in volume 8 or 9, so I feel like they'll also give those the appropriate amount of time. Volume 8's really short, so I expect three episodes out of that. Volume 9 is long, but you could skip a few bits in it, so I think 4 episodes is fine. Yeah, the adventure stuff is better. Yeah. So yeah. Wait a second. I forgot my headphones are disconnected, so I can't hear the fucking music. You guys probably can though. Aisha needs the Aisha one needs a rewrite. Was chapters. Also, what about Eris chapters? You can still get by with doing the I still think you can get by with it. Yeah, would they want to skip Sylphie trying to sneak to Rudy's bed? We don't want to talk about that, dude. Like the manga. It's heavily spoilers. Alright. I'm gonna try to get more sleep tonight. So I'm gonna end this stream a little bit early. Well, this isn't early. I finished the volume. I did all I needed to do. They may even skip volume 7 like the manga. I'll cry. Yeah, I feel like volume 7's really needed for Rudius's character growth and Rudius's controversy within the anime community, so I feel like they're not going to skip it. They'll probably simplify that whole sequence. Anyway, with that said, this is the end of the stream. When is the next one? I don't fucking know. Not tomorrow though. I'm not gonna stream tomorrow. Probably Friday. So 2 days from now. I'll probably stream then. So until then, it's 3 days in a... This was three days of streaming in a row. I was late for today's one. Sorry. Anyway, with all that said, this is the end of the stream. I thank you all for coming out here. What's the time here? 9:30 p.m. I started the stream at 6. See you. See you boys later. There you go.